What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Tablesetters covering all things Major League Baseball. As always, I'm Steve, joined by my tag team partner, Devin. What's going on, man?
What's up? What's up? Episode 95, creeping a little closer to that big 100 number. And we're excited tonight. This is the first time ever, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but the first time ever we've had a guest for a second time on the program.
Let's go.
That is correct,
It's
sir.
an honor. It's an honor.
For the first time since episode 55, we have Matt Devine of Devine Sports Gospel, a must follow for anyone who bleeds brown and gold, covering all things San Diego Padres. You guys know the deal. Devine Sports Gospel crushing it. Matt, it's so great to have you back on here. What's going on?
What's good, Steve and Dev? Appreciate you boys. And likewise, been following along since I was on, 40 episodes ago or however long it's been. And you guys are absolutely crushing it too. It's been a fun baseball season. A lot of ups and downs, obviously, but that's why we love the sport. So I'm very excited to kind of chat with you guys today. And, hopefully the listeners like.
A war of attrition is the baseball season. And one of our favorite moments or clips of the show was the Roki clip that we had on here on the board for a bit to play it back and forth. So any update on the feelings of Roki? I know it's like kind of hard to beat the guy while he's down, but what are we doing?
I mean, I got a lot of grief for the people at home who might not have listened to the first time I was on Tablesetters. Really wanted Roki Sasaki this offseason. A little bit of a tease. I saw a lot of reports, and then I saw a picture of him working out with the Padres. I bought the hype. I was like, this guy's going to be awesome. He's going to be an ace. Like, he's cheap, all of this stuff. And obviously he went with LA. I called him Roki Sasofty. I had a couple of other nicknames for him. Like you mentioned, don't beat the guy when he's down. That being said, I got pretty cooked in a lot of these Instagram comments when I posted a video of him giving up a home run and like a back, it's like a spring training, like back leagues stuff. And he gave up a home run to Kyle Teal, like one pitch, right? And obviously I was at like a work conference. I made like a quick video just to troll. Went pretty viral and a lot of mean comments. And I'm not someone to, walk on anyone's grave. But if you were to look at, July 23rd, I said the Padres dodged a bullet. So far, they have. Guess who we got instead of Roki Sasaki? Nicholas Pivetta. Nicky P. Blicky P. Blicky P is going to finish top 5 in Cy Young. Probably 5, but still. Legit. He's got like a 2.8. He's got like a 2.8 ERA. We're paying him $1 million this year. $1 million because he did like a weird Preller contract. If we would have gotten Roki, you guys wouldn't have even had me on. They'd be like, I feel bad for that kid. The pods aren't even relevant right now.
Well, what a transition for that. Let's go to the opening say. We have Padres-centric trade deadline talk to get into. We are just days away from July 31st. So let's unpack everything we're waiting on the other side of the deadline.
All right, so let's get right into it here. AJ Preller, your boy, we all know he's unpredictable. He's aggressive. Are you thinking full buy mode here as we head towards the trade deadline? Or are we looking at some kind of hybrid strategy with Dylan Cease maybe going somewhere else, retooling elsewhere? In general, what do you see coming here in San Diego?
It's very interesting. Obviously, this is like, as a Padres fan, one of the most fun times of the year because unlike a lot of franchises, Preller goes crazy during the I don't think he sleeps, one. And just in general, I don't think he sleeps ever, but especially during the next week, he's going to be full Adderall binge, just going crazy. I think what's going to happen is I think they are going to trade some pieces to retool, but for this year, if that makes sense. So I don't think they're selling necessarily, but I do think a guy like a Dylan Cease, a guy like a Luis Ariz, Jake Cronenworth even, maybe a bullpen arm. I know a lot of people are interested in Jeremiah Estrada. I wouldn't want to trade Jeremiah Estrada. I think Jeremiah Estrada is the future closer of the Padres. But Robert Suarez is on an expiring deal with a mutual option. So you could trade Robert Suarez and Dylan Cease to the Red Sox and get a guy back that could play for your team right now in Jarren Duran, right? And Jarren Duran, you take on that salary. I know a lot of Red Sox fans are like, we don't want to trade him. They have a log jam in the outfield, right? They got that guy, the password coming up too. They have insane amounts of outfielders. They suck pitching-wise. Lucas Giolito was giving up meatballs today, like absolute meatballs. Dylan Cease is the perfect example of a guy who you can, if we can get anything back for this dude, it's a win because he sucked this year. He's so not fun to watch. Like, I genuinely do not like watching him pitch. And I know all the underlying metrics love him. He's third in baseball and strikeouts, all this stuff. But I've watched every start this year. He has no dog in him. If we could somehow get anything back with a pulse that can help this team out, you trade him. But then if you say, oh, you're trading your, quote unquote number 2 starter, are you guys selling? I don't think we're selling. I think we're still going to buy. I think we're going to go. Saw a rumor we're in on Charlie Morton. No, it isn't the sexiest name, but I won't lie. In a playoff game, I'd rather have Charlie Morton than Dylan Cease. That is where I'm at with Dylan Cease right now. Has he gotten a lot of run support? No, but that Ohtani homer and the NLDS ruined him for the Padres fans. He was already behind the 8 ball. We should have won that. We should have won that NLDS. Game 1, we're up 3, 2 outs, gives up that homer, hasn't been the same pitcher since. He really hasn't. He'll, like today, right? He looked great, gives up a 2-run homer to Jesus Sanchez. We lose 3-2. Is that his fault necessarily? No. But also, you're trying to pitch for a bag. So if you can get him out, we're supposedly in a kind of budgetary thing right now where they're like, hey, like we don't have a TV deal. We got some big contracts. Tatis's contract goes from like 13 million to 20 million next year. A lot of things of that nature. So how do you combat that? You trade guys like a Jake Cronenworth, who some teams are going to find valuable. I think he has like the 6th highest OPS as a second baseman, and he plays great defense. A team like the Yankees would be interested in Jake Cronenworth, 100%. So you trade them, a team that could take on that salary, and you get something back. You can get a Spencer Jones type cat if you trade, the Yankees, Robert Suarez and Jake Cronenworth, 100%. And then Spencer Jones, San Diego kid, comes back home, can play the outfield, cheap, and also could probably be up tomorrow because our left fielders right now are Tyler Wade, Trent Brooks. It's like a make-a-wish out there. And I like T Wade, but it's just not. It's like they're picking random guys off the streets to play left field each game. We got to improve the depth. And if you could trade a guy like a Crone, a Cease, a Suarez, and a Rise to improve depth and make it so that next year and the years past we don't have to have these scrubs batting, I would do it in a heartbeat.
I mean, a lot of it is the limited payroll flexibility. And we mentioned it before, the depletion of the farm system that you're trying to rebuild on the fly. I think a lot of this has AJ Preller having to play chess and, like you said, staying up all night, figuring it out. When the Jarren Duran news broke, and we talked about it as a rumor on here, and we saw you guys talking about it as well, it seemed like it was really unrealistic. But I think as the days go by, they seem to be more of a match than anyone even considered. Absolutely. And I think it really has to do with Rafaela emerging as a legitimate, he must play every day. Jarren Duran probably could be in brown and gold by the end of the deadline. That's the way I look at it now.
I was kind of out on him, to be completely honest. I think, I've seen a few players now go from Boston. And I think the Boston Red Sox tax is a real thing. I think you have a little bit more of an inflation playing for a team like that. Obviously, Xander came over and struggled. Rafael Devers had a good game today, but hasn't been necessarily the hottest hitter in baseball since he came to the Giants. It takes a little while for these guys who are Red Sox to kind of adjust a little bit, right? You trade for Jarren Duran this year, I'm not assuming he's going to come over and hit 10 home runs, right? And just absolutely be awesome. I think he's valuable. I think Preller likes him a lot. I think given the logjam that the Red Sox have, I get it because he kind of fits our window of the next, 2-3 years. And he's somewhat cheap. An outfield of Duran, Merrill, and Tatis on paper sounds sexy as hell. But as someone who watches every single game, combined home runs between those 3 in the last month, 8? Is that really what we need? I feel like the Padres' biggest issue right now isn't any of these trades. And I know we'll talk more about the trades and stuff. The biggest issue with the Padres right now is they're 27th in the league in home runs. We have no pop, 0 pop. Fernando Tatis Jr., I think it was May 6th, May 4th or something like that, right around Cinco de Mayo, gets hit by Mitch Keller, 2nd inning. At that time, Tatis was 2nd in MVP odds. Obviously, it was 1 month into the season, but he was looking like prime Tatis. Like roided Tatis, to be completely honest. He was looking absolutely insane. I was like, he's back because he had the insane playoffs last year. And then he was red hot to start the season. I'm like, that's my guy. Thank God we have this dude. Gets hit by Mitch Keller. Since then, he has 3 home runs. Just not a power threat at all. He's been playing fantastic defense and he's been walking a lot. But do we really need him to be Jackie Bradley Jr.? We don't. We need him to hit bombs. Jackson Merrill. red hot to start the year, gets hurt, has a concussion, hasn't been the same since. So we could trade for Aaron Judge right now. But unless those two dudes start hitting, it's a first round exit.
Yeah, I feel you on that. As a Met fan, I mean, we had Francisco Lindor just today, broke out of an 0 for 30 slump. And like the Mets are the same way. They go as the stars go. So like when he and Alonso and Soto are all down, it's very hard to get wins. And it makes a huge difference. But I got to ask you, like the next 7 to 10 days or so before the deadline, like, do you think Preller's mind is made up right now? Like he knows what how his strategy is going to work? Or if the Padres go on a run, could they just go straight buy mode instead of hybrid? Or if they go really down the tubes these next 7 days or so, could you see them go full sell?
No way they go full sell. This dude's a psychopath. He's going full buy, to be completely honest. And the way he's buying is by selling off a guy like a Dylan Cease and stuff, because we just don't have that much of a farm. So it's gonna look like we're selling if we trade a guy like a Rise or a Cease, but he's literally gonna do that because he's going all in this year. He's going all in this year and he's going all in next year. I think people are going to think that us giving up Dylan Cease is like a sell mode. And I think it's going to be hilarious because anyone that's watched, if we're playing the Mets in the NL Wildcard Series and game 2, Dylan Cease is on the bump and it's a must win, it's football season. Get him off my team. The dude is not a winner. He has zero dog in him. So if we can get a team like the Yankees or the Red Sox to buy in and be like, oh, we just need to, he just needs to throw a slider more. And we could trade him and he's a Boris client and we can get anything of value back, because in reality, we won the Dylan Cease trade already. We traded Drew Thorpe, who has Tommy John. We have Jairo Iriarte, who is a top, pitching prospect. People thought he was going to be a dog. Don't even think he's past AA. He has like a 6 ERA. And then we traded Sammy Zavala, and I'm assuming both of you guys don't know who that is because I barely know who that is now, and I was a diehard fan of the team. So Sammy Z went over, was supposed to be this great, left, 19 years old, he's crushing it in single A. All these prospects suck. There's like 2 good prospects every year. All of these prospects suck. Then you go and you watch a team like the Blue Jays. You got guys like Ernie Clement and Davis Schneider. Bro, this sport is so dumb. It's the dumbest sport of all time. Like, honestly, I was talking to my brother about it. It's a idiotic sport that we care this much about it, because we'll hype the hell out of a kid who comes up and he can't hit. And then Francisco Alvarez looks like he's going to be out of the league, goes down to AAA for 2 weeks, comes back up. Now he's hitting absolute nukes. It's a dumb sport. It's all confidence. The underlying metrics are real, but the fact that like the Padres right now, right? You're just watching. I'd much rather be a team like the Diamondbacks in a sense, where like, hey man, they're going to hit some fucking nukes. Does their bullpen suck? Yeah. But at least those games are entertaining. Watching the game today, 3-2, bullpen doesn't give up. Our bullpen is so good. So good to the sense that I genuinely do believe if we get hot at the right time, we can make a run in the playoffs. I think they're that good. Also, we need Michael King back, but that's another side of the story. Having a good bullpen wins in October. I wouldn't be surprised if Preller goes and tries to get a bullpen on and tries to get another piece to that bullpen. Because right now we have 4 all-star relievers, in my opinion. Jeremiah Estrada, Adrian Morejon, Jason Adam, and Robert Suarez. Wandy Peralta hasn't been that bad either. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade Wandy and try to get back a guy with a little bit of control that's getting paid less, because Wandy gets paid a good amount. And a team in contention, like the Cubs, would totally take a flyer on him. There's a lot of moves to be made. And Dev, sorry for rambling, but I'm very interested to see what he does, because I know he's going all in. Because right now I look at the NL. Dodgers fluke ass win today. Should not have won that game. Mookie went, whatever. Long story. I look at the Mets. Pitching wise, doesn't scare me, right? Who are you guys pitching game 1? Kodai Senga. He's like a 4 ERA. Not really scared about him. You guys are going to trade for guys 100%, but right now, no. Phillies beat them in a series, outside their big 3 boppers. They got 2 fantastic arms. Bullpen sucks, and they have 3 good hitters. Not the world beaters. And then you look at Dodgers. Giants are frauds. I live up in San Francisco. They suck. They're the biggest fraud, pardon my language. They're the biggest fraud team in the history of fraud teams. I'm praying for the collapse. I'm at work and I'm telling these guys, they're so ass. They suck. NL, you got Phillies. NL Central, Cubs and Brewers. Brewers have one guy with above a 800 OPS. They're on an all-time heater right now. Hey, would you rather Dev and Steve be on an all-time heater July 23rd or October 23rd?
You're right. That's a very
and then
big
the
point.
Chicago Cubs hit nukes. But if Colin Ray's starting game 3, you're not winning a World Series. So if I'm AJ Preller, I look at it like, hey, do we have our flaws? 100%. But if I make a couple smart moves and the boys start hitting a little bit, there's no reason why this team can't compete.
You mentioned the power outage for sure, and left field designated hitter area is concerned, but going to the catcher side of things, Martin Maldonado, Elias Diaz, I mean, game calling, defense, leadership. But if you look at offensively, they're among the least productive catchers offensively in all of Major League Baseball. So what is the answer for the catcher? I mean, I understand catching kind of things is different.
Dev about this because I just witnessed what Francisco Alvarez did, right? And I was going to call him New York Luis Campusano if he came up and sucked again. But now that he's hitting, Luis Campusano was the answer. And then Ethan Salas is supposed to be the next answer. That is how it was supposed to be. That is how it was written. But Luis Campusano, supposedly there's some issues with his work ethic. A birdie told me that in his post kind of, season interview last year, Mike Schilt, he was kind of like, fuck this. I don't really care. Like, get me out of here. Whatever. I don't think Mike Schilt likes him at all. As you could see by some of the opportunities Luis Campusano's gotten this year, they'll bring him up for one day and send him back the next, and he'll go 0 for 4. Never gets in a rhythm. Watching Elias Diaz and Martin Maldonado this year, offensively, I don't wish that upon my worst enemy, honestly. Oh, that's awesome that Maldi calls a great game. I don't care, man. I don't care. Dylan Cease, you know who his personal catcher was this year? Martin Maldonado. You know who sucks this year? Dylan Cease. It doesn't matter. The personal catcher bullshit is so dumb. Also, defensively, he calls a great game, man. Are you kidding me? It's 2025. AI can call a good game. Honestly, you could literally put in these stats, and I bet you there's an AI that would be like, "Hey, how about you don't throw Aaron Judge a hanging slider? That's a good idea." No, he can't hit. Elias Diaz can't hit. Awful. Great thing. Just like every baseball fan knows, the best thing to be looking for at the deadline is a catcher that can hit. Right? They're plentiful. Absolutely fucking not. We're cooked. We're cooked. That's why I have a feeling they're gonna stay. And Maldi, all-time Maldi move too. Last 3 games, he's hit a double every game. So people are like, maybe he's not that bad. Yeah, actually, I will say this one thing about Maldi compared to Elias Diaz. I think Elias Diaz is negative 2 WAR or something, really bad. Maldi against lefties this year has 820 OPS. Not saying he is the end-all be-all answer. And the fact that I'm defending Martin Maldonado on a podcast is absurd. This is like a nightmare scenario. I call him Martin. I used to call Martin Perez Martin the Dream. I call Martin Maldonado Martin the Nightmare. Martin the Nightmare, he's okay against lefties. Elias Diaz, get him out of here. One guy I would love to trade for, Sean Murphy. Braves suck. They're like, maybe we're going to trade him in the winter. Why don't you trade him now? You guys are not doing shit. You could probably get more now than in the winter. It's just, I don't know. The Padres are in a really weird spot because Ethan Salas also won't play all year. He fucked his back up. And it's not like he was really lighting the world on fire, right? He's not, he has a career 600 OPS in baseball. So being the 18-year-old phenom is sick. Being the 20-year-old phenom with a fucked up back in a career 600 OPS in the minors. So that's why when people are in trade rumors, they're like, yo, would you trade Salas for Duran? If we could keep Jeremiah Estrada, 100%. Get him the fuck out. I can find another 18-year-old catcher that can't hit.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Francisco Alvarez and what's going on with him and the Campusano thing and how he's kind of either regressed or fallen out with the organization. The Alvarez thing is interesting because I was completely on the side of this guy needs to stop swinging out of his shoes every swing.
Yeah.
And I think Eric Chavez, their hitting coach, tried to get that across to him. Hey, there's a time and place for that. 2-0 count, 3-1 count, right? But when you're down to 2 strikes, shorten up a little bit, try to put the ball in play. I think it backfired, and I'm going to completely take that back now. You just need to let these guys be themselves. In golf, you always hear everyone say, let them swing their swing.
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler, you would never teach that swing, and he wins every tournament. I think Alvarez is the same kind of case where I think that's just who he is, and he went down to AAA. They let him do his thing, and I think now they're going to kind of have hands off. The weirdest part was his defense was going down with it. Like he was always a good framer, called a good game, all that stuff. And all those metrics came down this year. So I'm praying because, again, like Luis Torrens was great as like a 1A catcher. But once it was his gig and like only his gig, like
he's
there
a
were
yeah,
times
of course.
where you're just kind of, so I don't know, maybe Campusano still is the answer at some point. You made an interesting post a couple weeks ago, and I think this was actually before the draft, and I'll give you credit for that, of the Adley Rutschman idea. And
I
now
will say I was impressed on that one.
well, I feel like it's even more relevant now because the Orioles went ahead and took 2 catchers high in the draft, Bodine, Ike Irish, who I know plays some outfield now. They also have Samuel Basayo in AAA, who's clearly ready. Do you think there's a legit possibility, like you guys call Mike Elias, and that's an actual real conversation?
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing with Preller is he's probably checked in on Ronald Acuna. He's checked in on Adley Rutschman. He will check in on every single one of these dudes. The Adley thing's interesting because I do think, man, he comes over, that is a jolt to this team, right? Like that is instantly like, whoa, we're all in one. But also, I think he's got 2.5 more years of control. He fits our window perfectly. Like that is the kind of guy you have. And like the lineup goes from, if you have Adley Rutschman batting 5th, and then you go and that lineup is so much better than having Elias and Martin batting 9th, right? That's pretty much like having a pitcher. I think they've asked on him. I like Shea Langoliers from the A's. I think they've asked on him. Ryan Jeffers from the Twins is another guy who would be cheaper, obviously. Shea and Adley are going to cost a lot. Adley more than Shea, strictly from prospect pedigree and the fact that Adley's been an all-star, hits 20 home runs a year, switch hitting catcher who plays good defense. I have a feeling Preller's going to do some shit where this time next week or this time in a week and a day, we're going to look back on this podcast and be like, I have no idea. We have no idea what he's doing. That's the thing. I also think, I was talking to my buddy about this earlier. He sends so many like missed signals on people, like that Marcelo Ozuna shit. I don't think we're in on Marcelo Ozuna. Like I've had 3 people reach out to me and be like, that was complete bullshit. Like Hector Gomez, kind of a legend because he's like us. We just tweet bullshit out. And you know, sometimes like it comes, Hector's he's Dominican DSG. He just throws out random rumors, anything he hears, and he's like, hey, this is going to happen. Even though, honestly, Marcelo Ozuna is the kind of guy, a right-handed bat that hits some bombs. I know he's kind of going downhill a little bit, but like the Adley thing, I think is not, I would say, gun in my head, not going to happen, but there's 100% been conversations. Like if you could trade for me, I would trade one of our elite bullpen arms, not named, I want to trade Morey Home, but I'd trade Jeremiah Estrada, our 2 top pitching prospects, and Ethan Salas for Adley Rutschman, and I wouldn't think twice.
It's just fascinating. The Ozuna thing does kind of answer some of the questions that we all have. The power situation. I saw the meme you guys posted today. Ozuna from the Dreys,
from the Dreys.
Which I mean,
my brother's got some good memes, low key.
But again, like these are the things that are out there, and depends on and who would have thought that the Braves would be on where they're at now and have in like the Sean Murphy situation. You said it kind of fits the mold. Why wait till the winter to trade a guy that you're probably going to trade anyway? The value would be higher now for teams that are desperate.
100%. Like we are desperate, and that's actually, I think, something that is not helping the Padres. Right? Is the fact that anyone with 2 eyes can see our catchers can't hit, and we are top. I think the bottom 4 teams right now in home runs are us. I think like the Royals, maybe the White Sox, and like some other bullshit team that sucks, right? And you look, you're like, okay, and you're telling me the Padres are in a playoff spot and we have no power, none. You have guys like Tatis and Merrill who combined in the last 3 months have hit like 5 home runs. If we didn't have Gavin Sheets, who's in a little bit of a slump, but he'll bounce back, we'd be probably last in home runs. And we're somehow in a playoff spot. So that shows me 2 things. One, you got to buy because there's this easy fix. Like if it was like something where we're like, our bullpen sucked, our pitching sucked, and our hitting sucked, we'd be like, we just suck. Our pitching, with Michael King out majority of the season, Yu Darvish out majority of the season, Joe Musgrove out the entire season, we have a top 10 ERA in baseball. Our bullpen, incredible. We have guys like Randy V. Underlying metrics hate him. I call him Strandy V. Randy Vasquez. You watch him pitch, you're like, how is this happening? He'll have 2 runners on every inning, and he somehow gets out of it. He's incredible. We have some of these dudes that come up, Steven Kolick, Ryan Burgett, some guys that are really eating a lot of innings and really helping us out. Those aren't guys that can pitch in the playoffs, though. So if Michael King's not healthy, you shouldn't buy. So I truly believe he's going to come back probably mid-August. And if he comes back and we could trade for a catcher that can hit and a left fielder with a little bit of pop, I do think this is a good enough team where I'm not scared of the Dodgers this year. I really am not. Like, I mean, I watch a lot of their games. Like, they're not that good of a team. They have so many injuries. And yeah, Blake Snell's going to come back. All right. Yeah. 4 innings. That's fine. 4 innings, a lot of Ks. Get to the bullpen. Glass now. Don't even have to bring him up. A lot of these guys are, I'm like, not really worried about them. Giants frauds. And like I mentioned, I'm just like, who's in that lineup that can get Zach Wheeler's scared of right now, right? For the Padres. And like, I know Merrill hit 2 home runs off him. I was at that game. But right now, if I'm Zach Wheeler, I'm not scared of Fernando Tatis Jr. I'm not scared of Luis Ariz. What's he going to hit? He's going to hit a single? Oh, wow. Yeah, holy shit. I'm really scared. 2-out single. Thanks, Luis. Manny Machado? Yes. Then you go 4th, Gavin Sheets. Probably not scared of him. Jackson Merrill? Probably not scared of him. We need someone that strikes some fear into this lineup, man. Either that or start playing small ball like mofos, man. Stop drag bunts, steals, because this weird offense of like not going all in one way or the other is going to end this team. Like, the season's going to end. Like, we lost against the Marlins today because Jesus Sanchez hit a 2-run home run off Dylan Cease. The Padres, I think, had more hits. It's happened a lot of the time. It doesn't matter if you have 9 hits if they're all singles. No one gives a fuck. Pardon my language. No one cares. You got to hit bombs, man. That's what the baseball is. We lost in the NLDS last year against the Dodgers, game 5, 2 home runs. Yu Darvish gave 2 solo shots. We lost 2-0. Kike Hernandez and Teoscar Hernandez. Dodgers win the World Series. Do I think the Padres would have won the World Series? Honestly, I think we would have had a decent shot. Just a little bit of pop. We didn't have it. What have we done to improve that this year? Pretty much nothing. That's the issue.
So looking at just the end of this season here, a soft stretch to close it. 10 of the last 27 games are against the Rockies and the White Sox.
Yeah, that's nice.
So we mentioned Nicky P. He's pitching better than ever. Yu Darvish nearing a return. Xander Bogaerts is surging in his own right. I know the positivity train on your end has been helping along, but what is the ceiling right now? Do you feel like this is a team that, we mentioned the expanded playoffs, they're holding a wild card spot, sitting just 3.5 games behind the LA Dodgers? Is this something that's realistic that if they get the right piece, there is a path for an October glory for you?
2 things. One, when we play shitty teams, we're awesome. That's the only reason why we're in this spot. Like, I think we were like, I know we lost today, but I think we were like something like 33-14 going into this series against teams under 500. So we've just been beating up on the scrubs. When we play the big dogs, we haven't been that great. Unfortunately, in the playoffs, you play the big dogs, right? So you gotta figure that out. I think the San Diego Padres are a very interesting case study of how a guy like a Fernando Tatis Jr., if you could get him out of his head and just have him play the game that we know he could play. Our hitting coach is like, you don't want to K as much. Bro, strike out all you want if you can give me some more dingers, dude. He's been killing. My buddy made a joke. He's like, the worms in the infield every time Tatis are up are like scared shitless because they know the ball is coming right down on the ground. Toddy, Merrill's having a sophomore slump. A lot of things aren't going in their direction, but I do think, I mean, you know, I look at the NL and even the AL. Tigers have lost like 10 straight. Everybody was saying they're a sexy pick. Oh, the Tigers. None of these teams are good. I watch 5 hours of baseball a night. None of these teams are that good. So if you're the Padres and you're in a league, or you're in a league where there's no real dominant team and you are in a playoff spot and you have an absolute psychopath as a GM, I think you go, you buy, and anything can happen in baseball. That's especially with the expanded playoff. That helps us out a ton, because without the expanded playoff, without the expanded playoff, I'd probably say you really should consider selling a lot, just because I don't know right now. I don't see us getting anything higher than a 5 seed. And that's if we That's if either the Phillies or the Mets really start to choke, to be completely honest. And I don't see either of those teams falling that far. So I think right now we're fighting for the 6th spot. So we'd go on the road and we'd face either the Mets, the Phillies, or like the Brewers. So it's like, I don't know, kind of long-winded, but I do think this team, if we make a couple moves, could be pretty decent. But just the lack of slug is really just like rearing its head. And like not a lot of teams are willing to give up. Like you're not like obviously Eugenio Suarez would be awesome, but like every single team in the league wants that guy. So yeah, it sounds great, but like you're not going to trade for a guy with like 35 home runs unless you're giving up a shit ton, and we don't have a shit ton to give up. And it's in the division.
Everything you just said reminds me a lot of the 2015 Mets, who ended up going to the World Series and losing, but they were a team that was criticized for getting a lot of their wins against under 500 teams, which they did. Like they beat up on the teams they were supposed to. They get Yoenis Cespedes at the deadline, who ends up carrying us. He and Wilmer Flores, believe it or not, because we didn't end up trading Flores after he cried on the infield
all time.
So those two carry us. And then as a team that everyone thought was just kind of mediocre, Daniel Murphy gets hot. A few guys get hot at the right time. And obviously they ran out of gas in the World Series and lost to a better team. But like everything you just said reminds me a lot of that team. And what happens at the deadline is going to make a big difference. And I think you're right. Everyone seems so close together. Like I don't look at any team right now and think like, oh, that team is such a leg up on everybody else. We thought it was going to be the Dodgers, but I agree with you. Like,
they're frauds, dude. I know
100% healthy. Like they're intimidating, but Mookie Betts doesn't look right and hasn't looked right all season. Freddie Freeman doesn't look right to me either, to be honest. Shohei obviously is Shohei, but and Glasnow, is he actually going to stay healthy? And he looked great today, but like I want to see him do it for a longer amount of time. I got to ask you though, this popped into my head after the World Series. It seemed like every chance the Dodgers got, they shit on the Yankees. Like they just made fun of them and told them how sloppy they were. But in every interview I saw, they would make a point to call the Padres the best team in the league and like act like it should have been those, like the two of you, either in the NLCS or in the World Series. Obviously that can't happen. But as a Padre fan, did that strike you as a legit compliment, or did you feel like they were poking you guys?
I think it's a classic move, right? Where you're like, oh man, dude, thank God we got past those guys, and just like hyping them up. And as a troll myself, I love it, right? Because I'm like, oh man, like they know. I genuinely, I have a feeling, hopefully we win a ring one day, but I have a feeling 20 years down the road, let's say we don't, Padres never win a ring, and it's been at that time will be like 84 years or whatever. I'll look back on the 2024 team and be like, that was the season, dude. We had it, man. We had it. Profar, Higgy, Solano, Peralta. Right now we have Elias Diaz, Martin Maldonado, Trenton Brooks, just ass. Everything was hitting last year, bro. We would play the Dodgers last year for the first time in my life. I'm like, we're beating that ass today. We clinched the playoffs on a triple play. That's a sign from the gods. It's your year. And you choked. We choked it. And what a awesome move by Mookie Betts and Will Smith and all these douches to be like, oh yeah, man. Hey, thank God we got past the Padres. Or like he has Merrill on his podcast and he's like, you guys are better than us. And like Mookie, the thing I hate about the Dodgers is that in reality, Mookie is a really likable guy. Freddie Freeman, very likable guy. Shohei, I know he threw his buddy under the bus a little bit, but other than that, very likable guy. So you look and you're like, man, like these players, it's the fans that the Pods, I won't lie. I know it's not historically the best rivalry of all time, but man, these fan bases do not like each other, like at all. Like some of the comments I get are crazy. You would think I was the one pitching. I'm like, brother, I'm just tweeting, bro. I have no control. None of these guys even know who I am. A few of them do, but not a lot. So it's like, what? Like some of the comments we get are crazy. I think watching the Dodgers this year, Shohei is just so insane that I think he masks a lot of their issues. Andy Paz is pretty solid too. So I will give him credit. He's been good. They're going to go all in. They're going to trade because they have an unlimited amount of prospects that somehow are all top 100. And you're just like, how does this happen every single year? They're going to get Duran from the Twins. They're going to get all these dudes. Last year, it all clicked for them in the sense that like Tommy Edman winning the NLCS MVP. That's fluke. Tommy Edman is not an NLCS MVP. But like you mentioned with the Mets, all baseball is getting hot at the right time. Anyone could have a good 5 games. I've watched some terrible players have a good series. And you're like, all right, well, you go and you play in the NLDS this year, and we're playing the Phillies, and we trade for Jarren Duran, and he hits 3 home runs, and we win. You're an instant legend. That's literally all baseball is. Look at Trent Grisham. Trent Grisham, if you ask any Padres fan, the one thing they'll bring up about Trent Grisham, and Dev, I don't mean to bring up some tough times. 2022 NL Wildcard Series.
Yeah, yuck.
He became Barry Bonds for 3 games. And for the rest of my life, I will always love Trent Grisham because that was so fun. That also led us to beating the Dodgers in the 2022 NLDS, which, he's a loser talking about the NLDS being one of the better moments of his sports fandom. Well, it was. I'll be honest. And I am a loser. I lost my football team, and the Padres have never won anything. So, yeah, we are losing. We are a loser fan base. But without Trent Grisham, that never happens. So all baseball is just figuring out, like, getting hot at the right time and filling some holes, right? Right now we have too many holes, though. Our depth is, we have Trent Brooks pinch hitting. Trent Brooks should not be in the major leagues. So we got to figure that out.
So before we move on to our blind rankings, which will be fun, we'll get you out of here so you can go live. You guys check out DSG over there, what they're doing. You got to make sure you guys follow them on Twitter at Devine Gospel and also on Instagram at Devine Sports Gospel. I got that correct, Matt?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, so reverse it right there. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask the question because you referenced the mediocrity in the league and just how no one's really separating themselves. But looking at the league as a whole, you watch the All-Star game weekend, you see all the stars they have, feels like the league's at an all-time high. If we open the hood of Major League Baseball, is this more of an issue than we're talking about right now? The lack of great teams that we're looking at? Is it just because we have the extra playoff spots, or is it just that no team is truly great and we're crowning a champion that's just the best of the mediocre?
I think it's awesome. I think baseball, when there's not who cares if a team wins 110 games, right? Because we've seen time and time again, that team might not even just win in the playoffs, right? And it's like, I think baseball is such an interesting sport because it is a little bit of a war of, like you mentioned earlier, Steve, it's a war of attrition, right? Like any team, that's why everybody gave 2020, the Dodgers, so much grief, right? Because it was like, hey, like anyone could, not anyone, but like 60 games in the playoffs is really not a full season. There's a lot that goes into a full season, right? Like you look at the Padres right now, if you can tell me that Michael King, Yu Darvish, Dylan, all these guys are healthy for the playoffs and we make a couple trades, I'm like, I love our chances to win it all. But who knows, dude? Like anything can happen, right? Like you look at the Phillies, for example, Zach Wheeler, Christopher Sanchez, they have all these guys. God forbid one of them goes down. That team goes from a World Series favorite to I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs. So the war of attrition is so important in the sense of like staying healthy and also just staying motivated. I think the dog days are really real. So like perfect example of this is Fernando Tatis Jr. Miami, day game, 12 o'clock. There's 14 people in the stands. You can tell sometimes you're like, man, he is not locked in at all, right? And you get mad a little bit as a fan because you're like, bro, I know how good you can be. Like you're better than this. But then I think about it as someone that also has a job. And there's some days you log in, if you're working remotely or if you go into the office and you're like, man, I'm not feeling it today. Right? And you got to go through the motions a little bit. Baseball is not football where you have 17 games and you're a QB. Baseball, you have 4 to 5 ABs 162 times a year if you're lucky to stay healthy and be in the bigs. So to assume that all these guys are always locked in is tough. But in the day and age we're in right now, where it's like every instant reactions, it's hard. So how I've been looking at it going forward is like series. So I don't really look at it on a game-to-game basis. But like for the Marlins series, we lost the series. So I consider that just an L week. I don't care that we won one game. But then if we won the series against the Phillies, I don't care that we lost one game. So I don't know. I think right now baseball is in a really fun spot because, yeah, there's no team like in the playoffs right now. If the season were to end today, who do we got? We got first place is the Brewers. So the Brewers are the 1 seed. 2 seed are the Dodgers. 3rd is the Mets. You got 4 is the Cubs. 5 is the Phillies. 6 is the Pods. So it'd be Pods, Mets, and then it'd be Cubs, Phillies. Sign me up for those series, right? To start those are 2 bangers. Then you look at the AL. You got are the Tigers still first in the AL?
I think the Astros actually have the best
so the
record now as of
and you
today.
got the Astros, who are 17 guys on the IL. That is
Crazy.
Talk about a team that shut the narrative up on them cheating, man. Wow. What a awesomely ran franchise. Awesomely ran franchise. You have to be the biggest hater of all time to not tip your cap to the Astros. They, year in and year out, they trade Kyle Tucker. What do? They get Cam Smith back, and now they're the best team in the AL. Awesome baseball team. Forever jealous. So you got them, you got the Blue Jays, you got the Yankees, you have, I guess, the Red Sox are in it. AL Central, Tigers, frauds, but they're in it too. Baseball's in a cool spot right now. I'd say best team in baseball. I'd probably say, honestly, the Cubs. Yeah. I think the Cubs are the best team in baseball. You know why? Because in the playoffs, guys, and you guys have seen it, nukes win. Yeah. Oh, wow. Congrats, Luis Ariz. You have 4 hits. Did you score? Scoring is everything, man. That's all it is. Sorry. I mean, I know that was a little long-winded, but I would say right now, if you were to say
we know we got it.
World Series matchup, what would you guys say?
Oh,
you guys have been interviewing me. I got to ask some questions back.
All right, so I never go with my team as much as I want to put the Mets in there. So preseason, my pick was Boston and the Diamondbacks, just trying to be different, to be honest.
I like that.
I'm going to stick with Boston, even though they've played like shit after the All-Star break, but I switched the Diamondbacks out. Obviously, I couldn't stick with them.
Yeah, that'd have been tough.
I put Phillies, so Red Sox over Phillies, but honestly, I'm just trying to, I'm trying to have fun with it. It's hard to predict. Oh, that's true. Right. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I had D-backs and Texas for mine, but obviously both those teams flamed out. But Texas still has a shot. I made the case last week to justify the offense surge for Texas, but I reversed it and I wound up having Tampa taking on the Dodgers in the rematch from 2020.
Oh, 2020 rematch.
Yeah,
now
but
Blake Snell will pitch again, but for another team. I like
exactly. They'll take him out just in time for him to get going over there. But yeah, I mean, like you said, wide open, dude. And I think that what we're seeing at the trade deadline is going to be pretty much assessing where we're at. And I think it's going to be more of a barometer of this league going forward. So
I love it. I think
we do have blind rankings for you.
Major League Baseball trade deadline is so electric, man. You got the Twitter notifications up. It's so awesome. I would say right now, gun to my head, Astros Cubs. I think the Kyle Tucker series. And Dev, I love how you say I don't put my team in it. Brother, I'd put my team in it if I thought they were going to make the World Series. Right now? Absolutely not, bro. Hey, Maldi AVs in the World Series? Come on, bro. Absolutely not, dude. As much, wake me up from this Martine the Nightmare, bro. That is not happening.
All right, so before we get you out of here, we do have blind rankings. And as we look forward to the trade deadline, best case scenario, we have some short-term upgrades, those coveted deadline rentals. And we have a lot of them that are at the history of Major League Baseball. Some great names. I'm sure you have some at the top of your mind, but I have the list in front of me. I know both of you guys don't. So what I'll do is I'm going to give you, I have 12 names in front of us.
Hell yeah.
And I'm going to have you rank them. You guys can work together and make your own separate lists and put them where you believe they deserve to be. And keep in mind, as I say them, that spot is forever gone once I take it. You guys understand the blind rankings rules.
Yeah. 12 that's a lot of rankings here.
12, are you saying 12
dude, I could have went
now that are going to get dealt or all-time trades?
All time. I think we're doing all time.
All time. I have the years, who they were traded for, and what they did too. So
let's do it.
All
right. So I'm going to pick a random name here. Let's start here. Let's go with, as Devin mentioned before, Yoenis Cespedes to the New York Mets, 2015, acquired from the Tigers.
I'm biased here.
Detroit. Michael Fulmer, Luis Cessa came back. So we look at the Carlos Gomez deal. The Mets pivoted to Cespedes just before the buzzer, responded with, honestly, a Babe Ruthian stretch to carry the Mets to the division crown and then eventually the World Series. His re-signing eventually turned sour, but that's not what it's about. I think few deals have really electrified the fan base faster. So let's see where you guys rank Yoenis Cespedes separately.
Are we?
Because he's a Mets guy.
Are we doing 2 different lists? I'll do mine and Matt does this.
I want to hear yours because I feel like we'll have different ones, but I'm excited to hear what you have to say. This was a sick trade.
This is tough, but I remember thinking the Carlos Gomez part was going to go down, and the Cespedes thing happened at the last second. And that's the Sandy Alderson days, extremely conservative, usually didn't do a whole lot. So he delivered, and then Cespedes delivered. Unbelievable run. Citi Field was electric. I never like to take the 1 spot up this early when we do blind rankings. I think 2 is probably too high, and I'm a little biased. I'm going to go 3 here, though. Cespedes to the Mets.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the other ones, because it's the first. I'm going to go with 7. I think I remember the Cespedes era of Mets baseball. Obviously 2015 was not a good year for the Padres. That was the year that we got Upton. We got, not during the trade deadline, but we had Upton, Matt Kemp, Will Myers. That was the year we kind of first, with AJ Preller, we went all in. Did not pan out well. So I watched a lot of other baseball teams, and the Mets with Cespedes were pretty electric. So I think that was an awesome one. I'm going to go 7.
All right, let's head back a couple of years. Matt Holliday to the St. Louis Cardinals, acquired from the Oakland Athletics, sent to Oakland. We got Brent Wallace, Clayton Mortison, Shane Peterson, and this was the second trade of the year for Matt Holliday. He was paired with Albert Pujols to form one of NL's most dangerous tandems, and his productions were immediate, and they got the 2011 World Series title later on. So he became part of that core in St. Louis.
All right, yeah, I'll go real quick. I'll say 8. And it is funny because obviously they won the ring and the Mets didn't, but I'm a VAR guy, and Matt Holliday never really had the VAR. He still has never touched home plate too in that game 163 against the Padres.
That is a true fact.
I'm a little bit of a Matt Holliday hater. That being said, that 2011 Cardinals team was awesome. Obviously the David Freese moment, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Great move. Also, I think, Steve, the thing I love about what you just said, can you rename the guys you got traded for?
Let me go to the list here. We have,
you guys can have all 4 of them on the podcast Wallace, tomorrow if you wanted.
Clayton Mortison and Shane Peterson.
Nobody. Trade your prospects. All of these guys suck. There's like 3 good prospects a year.
There was a report today that Diego Cartaya, the guy that used to be like #1 prospect for the Dodgers, was released today by the Twins. He's like 5 for his last 59 with like 1 million strikeouts.
Yeah, 40 Ks.
And that goes to show you. I remember the first time we had you on, I think you said something about you felt like AJ Preller is just a master at building his prospects up to be able to sell them later. I think the Dodgers and a lot of other teams do the same thing. And it's like,
they pay
a lot of
the Dodgers and the Yankees 100% pay the Heymans of the world and the Fangraphs of the world to overhype their prospects. And you know what? I would spend, rather than, spending money on Martin Maldonado, spend money on that 100%. Hey, I'll feed Jeff Passan 600 G's to tweet about my prospects 100%. My biggest fear, before we get into some other questions, I know I got to go in a little bit. Biggest fear for Ethan Salas, and I made this joke on the podcast once, he's going to become San Diego Cartaya. So that's my biggest fear. Is he, top? Because, hey, man, 3 years ago, the Dodgers could have traded for Chris Sale with just Diego Cartaya. And now he's nobody. And that's what these prospects are. It's really a lottery ticket.
Oh, yeah, lottery ticket. Steve, just remind me, so was Holliday traded to the Cardinals in 2011 and then they won the World Series, or they got him before that and then a couple years later?
They got him in 2009. He stayed on board for 11. He stayed with them, but he was traded twice that year. But, dude, I have the lines in front of me, too, for some of these deals. 13 home runs, 55 RBIs in 63 games, 2.3 WAR that he had a team batted .353 for the Cardinals.
All right, I'll put that at 4 right behind the Cespedes deal. Again, maybe a little biased there, but I'm going to put a Holliday to the Cards at 4.
All right, I'm going to go in the way back machine here. Let's go Manny Ramirez to the Los Angeles Dodgers, acquired in the 3-team trade with the Red Sox and the Pirates. So the Dodgers sent Andy LaRoche and Brian Morris. The Red Sox receive Jason Bay, and the Pirates receive LaRoche, Morris, Brandon Moss, Craig Hansen. So if you look at the stats for Manny Ramirez,
scrubs.
Manny Wood, 396, 489, 743 slash lines, 17 home runs, 53 RBIs in 53 games. Manny Wood, what else can you say?
Yeah, Manny Wood was sick. Even as a Padres fan, it just sounded cool. I also used to like the Red Sox a little bit growing up. They were my AL team. So when Manny went over there, it was like he had the dreadlocks. He was swaggy, man. So I'm gonna go
the first 99 as well, too. By the way, he was rocking 99 for the
exactly. Actually, I'm gonna go 10. Issue with Manny Wood, they never won shit, and it's like cool. He played 53 games for him and was like swaggy, but like, there's Ryan Schimpf played 30 games for us and won NL Rookie of the Year, and now he sells real estate in Baton Rouge. So it's like, who really cares?
I'm going to go 10 as well. I feel like that's a good place. And like you said, like it didn't end up winning anything. Stats were great, but I'll put Manny at number 10 here.
Hell yeah.
All right, we're going to head a decade prior. We're going to have Randy Johnson to the Houston Astros in 1998, acquired from the Mariners. They sent Freddie Garcia, Carlos Guillen, and John Halama to Seattle. on the run
Those are some names.
from they were 10-1, 1.28 ERA, 116 Ks and 84 and a third, 4.3. And this deadline, if you guys remember this deal, a lot of people out there are listening, maybe you're too young to remember this, but traded minutes past the midnight deadline. So this was something that kind of came in at the end here. Terrifying presence is Randy Johnson. So him and the Houston
one of the
Astros.
scariest pitchers of all time. Who did Randy Johnson and company lose to in 98?
Let's see. So he fell short in the NLDS. So I think let me find out the 1998 NLDS.
I know the answer. It was the Padres.
That's right, 1998. But then eventually you guys.
As you could tell, such a loser franchise as the Padres. We remember the 98 NLDS when I was 2 years old, strictly because it was one of the only playoff series of my lifetime we actually won. I'm going to go Randy Johnson. Well, dude, he was so awesome. My only issue is I'm a little young for it, and they didn't make it past NLDS, so I'm going to go 11.
All right.
I'm going to go
Randy Johnson there.
I'll go Randy Johnson to the Astros at 5. So I got him right behind Cespedes and Holiday.
All right, I'm popping it in there for you. And eventually we did have our crossroads as a young 9-year-old. I had, the Padres and the Yankees and all the glory of the World Series. But people remember, I mean, that series could have been way different if it went out for a missed call. Maybe AI umps would have fixed
Martinez, bro, of course.
Yeah.
That's another classic. Like you get a couple of Modelos and an OG San Diego fan. That's one of the first thing that comes up. That and the Marlon McCree fumble against the Patriots in 2006. Those are the two. Those are the two big ones.
What about the Tomlinson moment where he's sitting with the jacket and the visor
against the Jets? Yeah, all the time, bro.
Yeah,
that's why LT, right? Bro. Like everybody's like, oh, he must love LT. I'm like, he was great, but like Phillip Rivers is my favorite because Phillip Rivers played with a torn ACL in the AFC Championship. LT was crying on the sidelines. Different guy.
True.
Let's go with CC Sabathia to the Milwaukee Brewers in 2008. We know what he did. This guy, I mean, electric. 11-2, 1.65 ERA, 7 complete games, 3 shutouts, and 17 starts for the Brewers. Didn't stay there. Didn't get them to a World Series, but it was their first postseason berth since 1982. So got to keep that in mind.
I'm going 2. I was actually thinking about this one when you brought up the game. What an incredible time, right? This was also like peak, like me getting really into baseball, right? Like as like a kid, like really watching teams other than just my team. And CC was just such a dog, man. And if you talk to anyone in Milwaukee, like CC's getting inducted to the Hall of Fame this year, there's going to be a ton of Brewers fans there. And there's nothing but love for CC Sabathia. Obviously, he goes to the Yankees after as a free agent, but like you do that in that small amount of time. And you only have 11 starts for a franchise and so many people love you. You know how freaking dominant you have to be? And like that also goes to show tortured franchises like the Brewers and the Padres. You ball out a little bit, you're a legend, bro.
Yeah, I would want to put him like in the 3, 4, 5 section, but I have all those things taken and I don't want to use the 1 or 2 spot yet. So I'm going to put him 6. I just remember, I feel like he was pitching on 3 days rest, every single week. It was unbelievable.
Not to spoil it for you guys, but there was a list on ESPN that was inspired with this list. CC was number 1 on that list, just so you guys know that.
Yeah, it was a good one, dude. I'm a little nervous that I didn't put it 1 because I'm like, I'm trying to think in my head. That was the first one that came up. So hopefully I'm probably going to put some, crazy one at number 1. But
yeah, same.
All right, well, let's go to 2015 with David Price to the Toronto Blue Jays, acquired from the Detroit Tigers. Sent to Detroit from Toronto was Daniel Norris, Matthew Boyd, who's pitching really well this year, and Jairo Laborde right now, 9-1, 2.30 ERA and 11 starts. Led that rotation. Josh Donaldson won MVP that year. They surged past the Yankees to win the division crown as well. Faltered a little bit in the ALCS, which a lot of Toronto fans remember that. But he helped awaken really a dormant fan base that was waiting for some success, and he was a big part of it.
Yeah, I'll go 9. Price is obviously a beast, but like if you were to say, remember the teams David Price were on, I don't think the Blue Jays come, in the top 3. So
I think you had Manny at 9. Do you want to pop him in 10?
Oh, sorry about that. I'll put him in 10 then. Yeah.
All right.
I'm going to put him. I'm going to put him at 9, right above Manny at 10. So similar with those two, just because before you said it, like it honestly was not popping into my brain as a memory as far as them doing that well when he was traded there. It just maybe that's my fault, but I'm going to put him at 9.
All right, let's go with JD Martinez to the Arizona Diamondbacks in 2017, acquired from the Detroit Tigers. And we had Dal Lugo, Sergio Alcantara, and Jose King being sent. So a bunch of, a package of bag of balls here.
Trash, bro.
JD didn't mash. I mean, 4 home run game against the Dodgers. Legendary tear, 16 home runs in 21 games from across this. He had another home run in the NLDS, and he was a free agent by season's end. But Arizona fans remember him very, very fondly.
Yeah, just dingers. I'm going 12. In reality, the thing with another guy where if you ask me JD Martinez, like I don't think the Arizona Diamondbacks, like if you ask me, even CC Sabathia played for like 8 starts with the Brewers, and I genuinely remember CC Sabathia still as a Brewer. So it's like iconic moments. 2017, they had like AJ Pollock and all those guys. Like they were a fun team, but didn't win shit either.
Yeah, I'm gonna put him at 11. I'm gonna keep the 12 spot open, which makes me a little nervous. I do remember him a little bit there, but I feel like all he did was basically increase his own value, and I don't remember it that much for the actual team, the Diamondbacks.
100%.
All right, so giving you guys a look back into the list right here, Matt, you have 1, 3, 4, 5, and 6 open. Devin, you have 1, 2, 7, and 8, and also 12 open as well for you guys to remember.
All right.
All right, let's go with Mark Teixeira to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim back in 2008. He was acquired from the Braves for Casey Kochman, Steven Marek, 358, 449, 632 mash line, 13 home runs, 43 RBIs in 54 games. Arrived in Anaheim, immediately elevated a 100-win Angels squad. People forget there's a lot of success going on for the Angels. Postseason ended pretty quickly, and he wound up signing with the Yankees in the offseason. But this 2-month stretch with the Angels remains one of the most productive rentals in recent memory.
Yeah, I'll go 8. Or actually, I'll go 6 because I already put a lot of these guys. I think what I've learned from this list is like, trade deadline acquisitions, at least rentals, like you really got to be incredible to even be remembered. But it also makes me feel better because all of these scrubs that you're mentioning, Steve, that get traded for him, there's been like one guy, like Freddie Garcia is the one guy that I'm like, okay, that guy's good. But other than that, like every other guy sucks.
For sure.
Yeah, this whole segment is making me want the Mets just to trade the whole farm.
Everybody. Trade Jet Williams, adios.
Honestly, I'm going to put him at 12. Just because when I think of Mark Teixeira, as good as he was in that time with the Angels, I think of him as a Ranger and I think of him as a Yankee, partly because of winning, I guess, and more of the career. So that's where I put him.
Perfect.
All right. Well, let's go with Aroldis Chapman 2016 for the Chicago Cubs. Nearly blew Game 7, but delivered a title. 16 saves for the Cubs across that run.
Yeah, that was a good one. I'm going to go 4. Chapman was, he'd still be an awesome pickup, man. I think we'll look back on Aroldis Chapman, baseball-wise, as one of the biggest phenoms of all time. The fact that I remember watching him pitch when I was in like middle school and how fast he was throwing for the Reds, and the fact that it's 2025, I'm a full-ass man, and he's still doing the same thing is absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
All right, before I give my ranking, I just want to, I know Matt's got to go, so I want to send him off here. He's going to go record his own show, and I'll finish the segment up for you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yo, thank you so much, Matt.
Hey, see you, boys. Shout out the Tablesetters, man. You guys are killing it. I love the wide variety of baseball people you get on this show, man. You get Nimrods like me who, run a Padres podcast, and you get some real like former MLB players, former MLB All-Stars, heads of, commentators and everything. You guys are crushing it. So I really appreciate you guys having me on. And the fact that I'm the first 2-time member.
That's right.
I hold that right here. So I appreciate you guys.
Hell yeah, man. Well, enjoy your show. Man. We'll talk to you soon. Go Padres.
Thanks, boys. I'll hit you guys up. Later.
All right, Devin. So as we continue this list here, so he has 1, 3, and 5 left open. I'll let you finish it off. Where did you run up ranking the last one we had here with Chapman?
What was that? Chapman to who?
Chapman to the Cubs, 2016.
All right, I'm going to put it at number 2 here because they end up going. It's a huge acquisition, and they go on to win the whole thing, breaking the curse. And I have 1 and 2 open here. I can't put it at 7 or 8, which I'm going off my list. I know Matt was unfinished there too, but I had 1 and 2 left. So Aroldis Chapman, I'll put at number 2 on the list here.
All right, Chapman goes to number 2. So you have 3 slots left here, and I have a list more than what we have left in there. So I'm going through them based on really just feel and what I believe. I'm going to go with this one. This is a little bit complicated because it's not really a rental that turned into a postseason glory, but you would be remiss if you didn't mention it. Mark McGwire to the St. Louis Cardinals in 1997, acquired from Oakland Athletics. So sent to Oakland, Eric Ludwig, TJ Matthews, and Blake Stein. So a bunch of guys that we don't really know the names, but Cardinals didn't contend this year, but it's an interesting move for them as well because his arrival revitalized fan base. 24 home runs in 51 games set the stage for the record-breaking 70 home run season the next year. and also ushered in an era of 3 million plus attendance for 2 decades for the Cardinals. So a different assessment of success, not really
Yeah.
postseason, but Mark McGwire.
This is so tricky, especially with what I have left. I have 1, 7, and 8. And obviously, that trade ends up being hugely successful for the Cardinals in a lot of ways. It's a little soured by the steroid stuff afterwards, but he goes on to kind of save baseball with Sammy Sosa. Electric TV, like I still remember where I was for a lot of those home runs. I don't know if I could put it at 1, though. I don't want to put it as low as 7, 8, but these are my options. If I put it at 1, and then one of these last 2 that you have is something that helped someone win a World Series, I'm going to regret it. So I'm going to put it at 7, even though I think it belongs a little higher up on the list.
All right. Well, I'm putting it on his list for number 1 because I feel like with his spots left 1, 3, and 5, I'm putting Mark McGwire at number 1. And I don't know if I would have him at number 1. I still believe CC's number 1. That'd probably be my number 1 if I had to make this list myself with all things considered, but didn't win a World Series. So it depends on how you manage success in 1997.
Got to be a part of it. Yeah.
100%. So let's go with more recent Max Scherzer and Trey Turner to the Los Angeles Dodgers in 2021. So if we look at the prospects here, interesting to look at them now, 4 years removed. Sent to DC, Keibert Ruiz, Josiah Gray, Geraldo Carrillo, Donovan Casey. Scherzer went off this year, Devin. 7-0, 1.98 ERA, and 11 starts for the Dodgers. And they acquired both of them. I remember talking about this in our fantasy league and just talking about baseball. I mean, they didn't wind up winning the World Series in 21, but this was like, oh my, really? Both of these guys heads over to the Dodgers?
Yeah, that's more proof. The return that the Nationals got there. You know, we always talk about the Soto trade and what they got back for him. And notice that Nationals fans don't really talk about the Scherzer and Turner trade because that return ended up not working out. I mean, I know Keibert Ruiz is still there. I know Josiah Gray is still technically there, hurt. But that's another example of Dodgers doing a good job of inflating their prospects' value. At the time, we didn't think it was the worst because we thought Josiah Gray and Ruiz, we thought those were pretty big prospects to get. Here's the thing. I have 1 and 8 left. As crazy as that was to get both of them, and I think they stole Scherzer right out from underneath the Padres that year. I think everyone was almost confirming that he was going to San Diego. I wish Matt was still on for that part to hear the vitriol if he remembers that. But again, they didn't go on. Well, actually, wait, that was 2021, you said, right?
Yeah, it was the year after they won the World Series.
Yeah, so they didn't end up to win the World Series, whether it's the Mickey Mouse one or not, the year before, and then get those 2 guys and not be able to get the real one that year. I can't put it number 1, so I'll put it in at number 8 as my only other choice.
For Matt's list, I'm tossing it in number 5 as well. I just believe that similar to you, like for the dot, and maybe it's graded on a weird scale because it's the Dodgers. I put them in this weird spot. Like you need to justify the ring, and you even went further in to get these 2 players at the deadline and still didn't win a World Series. So
right.
We have our final spot left here. And Devin, you're proud owner of number 1. Tell me how you feel about Ben Zobrist, the 2015 Royals, later World Series MVP.
I honestly don't feel bad about it at all. I know he's not the biggest name, but you just said
I meant emotionally for you. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Yeah, emotionally, I don't like
there.
Yeah, it stings a little bit to talk about the 2015 Royals beating my Mets, but incredible player. The fact that he was a part of the Cubs as well. Yeah, him at number 1. If I could see all of these up front, not blindly, would I have put him number 1? I don't think so, but I think he'd be pretty high up on the list. I mean, World Series MVP. It's hard to beat that, I guess.
For sure. So going through your list, Evan, you have Ben Zobrist in 2015, Aroldis Chapman in 2016, Yoenis Cespedes in 2015, got Matt Holliday back in 2009, Randy Johnson 1998, CC Sabathia in 2008, Mark McGwire in 1997, Trey Turner and Max Scherzer in 2021, David Price back in 2015, Manny Wood in 2008, JD Martinez in 2017, and Mark Teixeira in 2008, pulling up the rear here. So how do you feel about the list?
I'm actually pretty good with it. I like it. I think, like I said, I think CC maybe a little higher up the list, but like the fact that my top 2 are direct World Series winner factors, I feel good about. Zobrist to the Royals, Chapman to the Cubs, and then Cespedes to the Mets. Big reason they got to the World Series. Holiday to the Cards eventually helps get them to a World Series. Not that year, but eventually gets them there. Yeah, I don't usually, if I do blind rankings, there's one or two glaring ones that I'm just like, yuck. I'm pretty happy with the list though.
So the other names that were on here that we didn't rank, I'll read you some of them and tell you a little bit about the deal. Orlando Cabrera to the Boston Red Sox in 2004. This was a four-team trade. The Red Sox sent Nomar Garciaparra and Matt Merton, and the Expos got Orlando Cabrera. They got from the Expos Orlando Cabrera, and other players involved: Alex Gonzalez, Francis Beltran, and Brendan Harris to the Expos. So Brendan Harris, and then looking at the rest of this trade, I mean, as far as Nomar being traded in a deal that's so understated, so interesting.
Yeah, I remember that being kind of a surprise. But the Orlando Cabrera thing ended up working out pretty well for the Red Sox that year, obviously, as things went well for them. But yeah, man, this is so interesting. And you just wonder if there will be a trade made this year that we look back on fondly years from now. The funny thing is, like, we all expect it to be the one person that everyone's talking about. Like right now, Eugenio Suarez just seems like the apple of everybody's eye. Like, it could end up being somebody that no one's talking about. Like, I posted about Ryan McMahon maybe being a consolation prize for somebody who misses out on Suarez. Who knows if he gets traded somewhere and suddenly the bright lights somewhere that he's not used to end up being a good thing for him and he goes off. You never know, man. Like, it could be one of the big fish that we are all talking about, and it could be somebody that no one saw coming.
So, by the way, the name was Doug Minkiewicz. By the way, the name got cut off. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I was like, where'd this name go? And it got mashed up in the document. David Cohn to the Blue Jays was also on there twice, 1992 and the Yankees in 1995. So he goes to the Blue Jays in 1992, part of a really good run for the Blue Jays, and then starts the Yankees as well, their run as well. So David Cohn understated as well. Carlos Beltran to the 2011 Giants, Marco Scudero to the 2012 Giants, J.A. Happ to the 2015 Pirates is on this list. Steve Pearce to the 2018 Red Sox. He won, modest acquisition turned into the fall classic hero for them. Jorge Soler back in 2021 for the Braves, home run machine, eventual World Series MVP. Cesar Cedeno, 1985 Cardinals, a little bit before our time, but he hit 434 in 28 games to help fend off the Mets. Will Clark to the 2000 Cardinals, hit 345 with 42 RBIs in 51 games before retiring. Scott Rowland, 2002 Cardinals, 44 RBIs in 55 games, and they wound up signing an 8-year extension with the Cardinals after that. They liked what they saw.
Yeah, that's the interesting part of this conversation that we didn't get into as much. Like, what happened? Like, when I think of a rental, I think more of a guy that was just there for the last couple months of the season. But these guys that are able to re-up with these squads and then continue to give value, that's got to be part of the conversation. And you wonder if that could happen with Eugenio Suarez. Like, if the Yankees are able to pull off a deal for Eugenio Suarez and then he kills it, Yankee fans are going to demand they re-sign the dude if he becomes a cult hero. And he could be back in pinstripes next year. But like Matt alluded to before, like the fact that there are so many teams that want that dude, I could only imagine what the Diamondbacks are asking for right now, even though he does fall into the category of a rental. It's fascinating.
All right. Well, that being said, let's head to the meat of the order, our longest opening say yet. But what a great conversation with Matt Devine. Again, make sure you guys go over there and support what they're doing in Devine Sports Gospel. Follow the journey, the passionate fan base with San Diego Padres. But we're going to hop into the rest of the news, preview the rest of the trade deadline, and have a further conversation around the league. All right, so we're going to start here with Jacob Mizorowski and the workload management that took a turn for a different direction, Devin, because I don't think we probably could have the conversation that the Brewers were challenging for the best record in baseball, but it seems to be a little bit creative of how they're managing his workload. So going back to Tuesday's 1-0 loss to the Mariners, Mizorowski dominated yet again, but only went 3 2/3 innings, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 64 pitches, and then he was done. Pat Murphy didn't flinch. It's calculated caution. It has to be. And if we look at some of what they're looking at, the math behind the plan, Mizorowski has thrown 92 2/3 innings this season. So he has 63 1/3 at AAA Nashville, 29 1/3 with the Brewers, the famous 1 innings pitch in the All-Star game. They are wary. They want to make sure that he's okay. And I like the approach right now because if you look at really the soft cap of 140 to 150 innings pitch, and they're being pretty open about this, that leaves 47 to 57 innings for the rest of the year, and that includes October. So that means if he makes 9 or 10 starts down the stretch, that's about 5 innings per outing max. Factor in postseason appearances, it likely drops to 3 to 4 innings per start. And they're definitely going to do something similar to a la Steven Strasburg, right? This has to feel a little bit like that with 2012 Nationals.
Yeah, that's the first thing that pops in my mind that ended up being very controversial, where they had like this 160 inning limit for Strasburg, or between 160 and 180, depending on who you ask. And as it came closer and they were in contention, people wondered, are they going to extend it? It also happened with Matt Harvey, his first year back from, I believe, Tommy John, when they had an innings limit and then he just blew past it. And it looked like if they stuck to it, that he just wasn't going to be able to pitch in the playoffs. And we all know how that ended. He pitched in the playoffs. He was great. And then he asked to stay um, in that game where Terry Collins agrees to leave him in, and it was one inning too long. But you can't set a limit publicly like the Mets did that year and then just disregard it. So it's risky business here if you have not 100% committed yourself to it, regardless of what the circumstances end up being. So really the answer is you just have to be smart and do the math. Like, all right, what are we going to do without just shutting him down to make sure when the playoffs come around, he's still good to go without blowing past that innings limit, right? Giving yourself a range also helps too. Like when I see that some places called it 160 inning limit for Strasburg, and some places said 160 to 180. Give yourself a little range. It gives your franchise a little wiggle room to not look like idiots at the end. But yeah, I'm okay with it as long as they've done the math and figured out how much he can pitch right now, while still letting him be available fully in the playoffs, not just as like a reliever or an opener. Brewers fans, if the playoffs come around, which sure looks like they're going to, they're going to want Jacob Misiorowski to be able to pitch full games.
And that's going to be the interesting part. I mean, we know he can touch 101 miles per hour. The off-speed pitches are dangerous. His opponents are being held to 168 batting average. You love what you see here. The bullpen's handling all of it. The Brewers right now are 34-21 in games decided by 2 runs or fewer, which is the second best in baseball. They're fighting for this model and keeping it in a direction that keeps it successful. But for me, Devin, like, I think the question is what happens in October, because obviously NL Rookie of the Year, this is not just about this year for the Brewers. They don't want to, let's just say, do anything that is detrimental to the progress of a Jacob Misiorowski. He's ahead of schedule. How will they use him in the postseason? Are they going to limit him to a 4-inning opener? Are they going to be okay with that? Will fans reach out and say that they're not okay if they have a tangible shot to win a World Series, and you're limiting this guy who is the best chance to win? I honestly don't know. I mean, we know it's not going to be conventional. That's the real thing here, because they want to manage the expectations. And if their heart of hearts, they think that they're going to win a World Series, maybe it changes, but do they believe that they're going to win a World Series this year? And I guess that's a question only they can answer. They're building a path right now to October, and I think they're going to figure it out on the fly. But Misiorowski is at the center of all of this, and this is a good problem to have, because the Brewers are at this point where, like we said, they're tied for the best record in the National League. They're contending for a Central Division that we didn't think they would be. Most of what they did this year was subtraction. In our division previews, what we said about the Brewers is that we are giving them the benefit of the doubt because they always find a way to win. What they're doing right now is, if the window is open for them to compete for a World Series and you can catch lightning in a bottle and he's a part of it, if you're a Brewers fan that's never been able to have the success and see a World Series in your lifetime, and this is a whole different level ball game. But like, now you can't pull him out of 4 innings just because you want to save his arm for 2030. Like, you have to think about this year.
100%. Like you said, like, how many times could this come around, and how many times are you going to have 3 legitimate aces at their peak in your rotation going into these playoff series where you really need 3 guys that you can count on? Misiorowski, Woodruff, who I don't know if there's a limit on him too because of all the injuries that he's coming back from, and Freddie Peralta. Like, are you going to have all 3 of those guys together for another 5-10 years? No. So no, you got to figure this out now, where he is a full-blown starter, because you don't need another great bullpen arm in the playoffs. You have some fire back there already. They're good there. All right. So you need to figure out how Jacob Misiorowski can be ready to go and give you 6 or 7 innings in any series and any playoff game that you're in. And if you end up in the big dance in the World Series, he's still able to contribute. What a shame it would be if he, and maybe even Woodruff, you didn't manage their innings right, and now you can't do it. I mean, I believe the Brewers have thought about this. I would be shocked if they have not baked all of this in to a potential playoff run. That would be as short-sighted. I mean, I guess we've seen it before, but the fact that we've seen it, they've had these examples not to follow. I would think that they've baked this all in and figured out how he can be a part of the playoffs full go.
I mean, just think, we just talked about CC Sabathia in 2008. He was going all those games on 3 days rest. It's like baseball's in a completely different spot. We have different knowledge of healing arms and making sure the longevity is in place. But if you look at CC's career, I mean, he wound up being an absolute monster for the Yankees following that. It didn't hurt him. Wound up being a Hall of Famer. So I understand there is caution, but when you start pulling the thread, Devin, it's like, then what are we playing the games for? What are you trying to get to? If you're at the point, if you're looking over this ledge where you can actually take the jump and do a cannonball into a World Series berth, and they're going to be like, no, we want to hold them off. And I understand they're not doing that yet, and that's hypotheticals, and maybe they change their mind. A fan base like Milwaukee, who hasn't seen sustained success like this in a very long time, not since they've been in the National League, they're going to be very, very upset if this is like, oh, we're going to save his arm for next year. What's next year? We don't know if we're going to be able to capture lightning in the bottle one more time.
No, yeah, you play for championships. You're not playing. The fans are not rooting for a million NL Central division titles in a row, but no championships. They'd rather the championship. So if you can get that and Mizorowski can help you get there, you do it now. Because I hate to be morbid here, but like, listen, with all these pitchers, we've been treating them with kid gloves for a long time. And has the rate of injury gone down? No, it has gone through the roof. So who's to say these innings limits even work? Like, if anything, we might need to build these guys up a little bit more. I don't know. It's such a big discussion when we get into that part. But I'm not a Brewers fan, and I would be furious if they mess this up.
For sure. And we'll definitely keep you guys abreast on everything going on with that. But let's head over to San Francisco. And after weeks of drama surrounding Rafi Devers and his reluctance to play first base in Boston, he finally gave in, just not for the Red Sox, Devin. He made his first career start at first base for the San Francisco Giants. He helped end a 6-game losing streak for the Giants in emphatic fashion. The Giants on him shutting out the Braves 9-0. He wasn't really overly tested defensively watching the highlights. He did look pretty serviceable out there and productive at the plate. But it seems like they're going to be rotating Devers between first base and DH. San Francisco certainly looking for some flexibility as they try to stay afloat in the wild card race if they are trying to buck any sort of trend of what Matt believes they are, which is frauds. Your thoughts on this? Obviously catching headlines in San Francisco and Boston alike that he was willing to play first base for the Giants and not the Red Sox.
Listen, I think Boston's moved on. Like, they're talking about who they're going to keep. Like, they've almost forgotten about Devers at this point. It seems like everyone's talking about Duran and who they're going to keep, who they're going to move. Maybe they're not going to move anyone. Maybe they're buyers. Maybe they're sellers. Maybe they're hybrids. So I'm not sitting here like, oh my God, what an insult to Boston. I think that communication was messed up by Boston in the front office, to be honest. I don't think Devers is the greatest communicator either. The interesting thing is he came out afterwards and basically said he feels like his offense has helped when he's playing defense. And there are a lot of players like that. Not everybody. I'm not going to say everybody, because look what Shohei Ohtani does when he's not playing a position, not pitching. He's ridiculous. So some guys can sit on the bench most of the game and get up 4 or 5 times a night and hit really well. But I understand a lot of guys cannot do that. Now, he played DH today and he hit 2 bombs. So it sounds like he's starting to feel comfortable there. I do think eventually he's a full-time DH for them. I mean, if you pay attention to the San Francisco Giants, Bryce Eldridge is their big-time prospect, huge kid, and he plays first base. And when they acquired Devers, I think Posey was asked about it, and he said, yeah, no, our plans for Eldridge has not changed. It doesn't sound like they're going to use him as a trade piece or anything. I think Giants fans are looking forward to seeing Bryce Eldridge in the orange and black for a long time to come. So I do think eventually the first base thing kind of stops. I don't know when, but here and there, if it's good for him mentally as a player, I'm all for it.
So, of course, the trade deadline is approaching fast, set for Thursday, July 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern time. And we mentioned it during the conversation with Matt about really just how the competitive landscape has been very, very crowded this year. And just to put some numbers on that, nearly 3/4 of all teams are within 5.5 games of a playoff spot. So put that in perspective. Obviously, expanded playoff position has its place in that. More buyers, fewer sellers at this point, and a trade market right now tilted towards teams looking to hold on to their leverage. So executives like AJ Preller and the rest of these guys in the league know that they can change a postseason run with the right move. You have to make the right move. And if we learned anything about our blind rankings of these rentals, is that a lot of these prospects that people are holding on to don't really result in much, because a lot of those prospects at the time, like, cannot believe we're giving those up. There is the James Shields deals of the world where you give up Fernando Tatis Jr. There is the PCA deal when you wind up giving up him from the Mets. These deals, I'm sorry, Devin, these deals wind up hurting sometimes. But if you're a team in contention, similar to the energy I'm keeping for Jacob Mizorowski, you have to do everything you can by putting your chips in the middle of the table to win a championship.
Yeah, you do. The hard part is figuring out the right people to do it for. Because I mean, all those examples we named where you're like, wow, they just traded garbage for that stud. There's also those other circumstances like you named when PCA, who is now going to be probably a lifetime Cub and tear it up there, who we traded for a couple months. The Mets, that is, we traded for a couple months of Javi Baez, and not Javi Baez at the height of Javi Baez too, like a relatively mediocre Javi Baez at the time. But it's such an interesting field now in the era of more playoff teams. Like you said, when everyone seems to be within 5 games, like only a few teams, only like 3 teams in the AL are truly out of it. But you have to be realistic. Like, you have to look at it and like, all right, we're only 5 games out, but we have to jump 10 teams to get in playoff position. If there's only a few people selling, we can take advantage of that in a seller's market and really do ourselves some good to kind of, for the future. So the Orioles, I'm looking at the Orioles, man. If the Orioles hold on to people that are unnecessary to hold on to, instead of retooling and adjusting, it's not a rebuild because a lot of these guys are super young. I'd say it's an adjustment. They better make the right moves, the right decisions. Cedric Mullins, Ryan O'Hearn, basically any of these guys that are more veteran players that other teams could give you something for, pull the trigger. I'm not saying do it if the offers are terrible, but they better have both feet in the water ready to sell.
So as far as the who's on the block, I know everyone has seen these names. It's been adjusting. You have some executives coming out saying this person's not on the block. They have people conjecturing about who would be. But as far as the 3 categories, we have starting pitchers, we have relief arms, and of course the impact bats. So going with the starting pitchers, Zach Allen, Merrill Kelly, Joe Ryan, Tyler Anderson, Mitch Keller, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Sandy Alcantara, if someone really wants to bet on the upside of him. And most recently, Edward Cabrera is like on everyone's radar. So a big MLB Network conversation about him. The price tags for all these starting pitchers, Devin, it's going to be steep because they're rare out there. A guy like Mitch Keller is going to get a nice return for the Pirates if someone wants to pay it.
Yeah, and I'm all over that one. I hope they do that one right because I think because of the market that we just alluded to, they could do really well. And let's be honest, Mitch Keller is a serviceable guy, but he's basically a 4 ERA guy, gives up a lot of hard contact. And in a year or two, I don't know what he's going to look like there. If they can cash in on Mitch Keller, especially with all the pitching depth they have in the system anyway for the next few years, that will be huge for them. So people are they're going to have their eyes on the Mitch Keller stuff. Another guy that the Pirates, unless they're getting terrible offers, better not hold on to. They better pull the trigger there. To me, the most interesting guy, and I don't think he's going to move, but out of all the guys you named, the guy I think could win someone a World Series is Joe Ryan. So if there's a team out there that is willing to overwhelm the Minnesota Twins, go get Joe Ryan, man. Like, again, we just talked about all those old trades and heard some of the terrible returns when, you can look in hindsight. Don't hold on. Don't prospect hug if there's someone like Joe Ryan available. It sounds like they're not shopping him, but it also sounds like they're not, they're answering the phone is what I'm trying to say. So overwhelm them, give them an offer they can't refuse, and then go win a World Series.
So as far as the bullpen arms go, there's some depth here. Emmanuel Clase, Mason Miller, Felix Batista, Ryan Helsley, David Bednar, Juan Duran, and Kenley Jansen drawing some interest. Obviously, Clase and Batista are not going to come cheap, but they could be game changers if you can secure them loose from where they're at. And the more I hear about it, the more I think Cleveland may move on from Clase if the deal is right. Same thing with Batista. It would make sense for him to be moved on from, as we discussed with Baltimore's crossroad that they're at.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like basically every contender is looking for bullpen help. So again, the cost is going to be high because the sellers know they have you by the balls, basically. So that those are not going to be easy. I would not be surprised to see some of these teams hear the price tags of some of those big names and then just say, all right, we're just going to kind of get some of the middling relievers to help us with depth instead. Again, I go back to the Orioles. I've seen some Orioles fans be like, please don't, last year we saw what it's like to have no closer. It was terrible. You have no reason to hold on to Felix Bautista right now. And relief pitchers are the number one inconsistency year to year. You just don't know what you're going to get. I made a post earlier about how the Dodgers, every baseball fan, including ourselves, were like up in arms when they got the two best relievers on the market last year in Tanner Scott and Kirby Yates. You're like, are you kidding me? They got both of them. They already had a good bullpen. Those two have been very pedestrian. Tanner Scott's on the IL now. Kirby Yates he loaded the bases today without getting it out. Hasn't looked the same as he did last year. The point is, as good as Felix Bautista can be, if you're getting a nice package for him or even one nice piece for the future, I don't think you hold on to Felix Bautista just because you hope to contend next year and have a legit closer back there. Bullpens, you kind of figure it out. So I don't think that's the piece you think about for the next year. Well, we need to hold on to this guy for next year. Position players, I can get that a little bit. Starting pitchers, I can understand that a little bit. Bullpen, if you can get something for him, get something for him.
So as far as the impact bats go, the bell of the ball right now is Gino Suarez out there, leads the group as the top power threat on the market, 35 home runs. We discussed him at length with Matt when he was on here. We got some other names on there as well that could do some service, former MVPs, potentially down the line. Like we mentioned, Marcell Ozuna, big time bat here, Jarren Duran, Cedric Mullins, Josh Naylor, Yohan Moncada, and Nolan Arenado. That's the former MVP in this list here. All varying control and cost, but I think really once Suarez comes off the board, there's a steep drop off of who's going to help these World Series contenders as far as bats go. I see Ozuna being moved. I see Duran being moved as well. But Suarez is certainly like his bags are packed waiting by the door. They just want to figure out what flight he's getting on and which direction.
Yeah. Watching as much baseball as I have over my lifetime, I feel like there's just from the past, I just feel like there is a world where in a few months, we're talking about Josh Naylor being the bigger acquisition than his teammate, Eugenio Suarez. And I'm not saying that to dog on Suarez. He's been incredible, the numbers he's putting up. But who's to say he goes somewhere and, who's not to say he struggles somewhere else for a little while he acclimates. Meanwhile, Josh Naylor was just traded from Cleveland to Arizona less than a year ago and acclimated to Arizona really quickly. He's been in big playoffs, bright lights, has had big moments. No one's talking about the dude. I'm sure GMs are, but like fan bases, reporters, I just don't hear Josh Naylor's name a lot, partly because we're just hearing Suarez's name, his teammate all the time. A team like the Red Sox could go get Josh Naylor for the rest of the season with that big first base hole they've been dealing with ever since Cassis went down. I know pitching might be more of their need. Offense is all already pretty solid, but like you're making a little bit of a juggernaut if you put Josh Naylor over there at first base. We know he has a little history with the Yankees. All of a sudden he's in a Red Sox uniform, with the rocking the baby and all that stuff. It could get fun if they match up in a big game towards the end of the season where a playoff spot's on the line or the division's on the line. Who knows what's going to happen? But that would be my bold prediction if I must. As far as those position players, I think Josh Naylor ends up being the bigger acquisition than his teammate Eugenio Suarez.
Yeah, I think the Josh Naylor piece, he was supposed to be that for Arizona. We discussed it at length in the offseason. This was supposed to be the final piece to take the next step. They looked like geniuses letting Christian Walker go. Josh Naylor replaces him, and it just hasn't gone right. It's one of those things for the Diamondbacks. I don't think, and we'll talk about them in a second because I think they're one of the key storylines, is they're a team right now that anything that could have gone wrong has gone wrong this year. There's been a lot of injuries, been a lot of Murphy's Law type of things for them as well. Want to correct myself because I know you guys are listening out there and you hold us to a high standard. Nolan Arenado never won an MVP. I just looked at it. The highest he ever got was a third spot, but I don't know if it's a Mandala effect, Devin. I could have swore he won an MVP in a Colorado uniform.
Could have been like MLB The Show and it's just stuck in your head. You don't know. Those things happen.
All right, so we mentioned the Diamondbacks as well. We have the question to ask, will the Diamondbacks actually sell? Because if you look at the list of the impactful expiring contracts, you got Suarez, Gallen, as we mentioned, Merrill Kelly, Josh Naylor, we just talked about, Randall Grichuk, and they have a good farm system, Devin, but they could turn this into a really elite one, top of the league type of stuff here if GM Mike Hazen makes the right decision and they just suck it up this year and accept that we're going to be chalking 2025 up as a lost year. They can set themselves up for a lot of success for the next decade if they make the right moves here.
Yeah, they sell. I think they 100% sell. With that being said, again, you have to say if they're not getting the offers, if people are being a little cheap, they're not getting the offers they want. There's no, you're not forced to do this. Like if there's any part of them that think like, all right, we'll trade Zach Gallen for the right pieces, but if we don't like the pieces we're getting offered, we would be okay negotiating with him to try to keep him in a Diamondback uniform. You got to have that in your head. So I don't know where their head is at as far as if there's any of these guys that they actually have some interest in re-signing. Like maybe they have interest in re-signing Eugenio Suarez or Josh Naylor. We don't know that. I think Merrill Kelly is certainly gone, a little more up there in age. Gallen, you're kind of selling a little bit low. He's had a little bit of a down year. I know he's had some decent starts lately, but he's gotten beaten up quite frequently as well. But if the answer or if the question is simply, are they going to sell? Yes. To what degree? We'll see, because we'll see how expensive these guys are and if people meet their demands.
So we discussed some favorites, some teams that have gone down into a direction that they didn't think they'd be in. Baltimore was once a favorite in the American League in preseason. They looked like they were going to be taking the next step, but they've done everything to crater 2025. And you can look at what they did in the offseason, what they didn't do. But if we're looking at making this team better for 2026, they've already moved on from relievers like Brian Baker. They did that deal on July 10th with the Tampa Bay Rays. But you look at names like Cedric Mullins. You got Sugano over there as well. We mentioned Felix Bautista rehabbing from Tommy John is being discussed. A full retool could reshape the bullpen and reset for 2026. I know Felix Bautista is, I think everybody looks at him as the guy who he was 2 years ago. And I think I think it's in there. I really do.
Yeah.
Baltimore is at a spot right now where they have to make a decision and make a firm one and be okay with it, because like we talked about with the D-backs, let's not let ego get in the way. This is a team that has their core allegedly set up for the next 15 years. They have to make the right decisions and look towards the future and really swallow your pride. Mike Elias, that article that came out with Pitcher List where he wants to win his way, all of that, the right decision right now. Baltimore has a decision to make, and it's sell and to move on from these pieces and just accept you could lose 90 games this year.
Yeah, it's full sell, adjustment, not rebuild, because like you said, you already have that young core that you think you're going to base the team off for a long time. They need pitching. Like you've drafted a ton of offense again. You have Gunnar Henderson, Jackson Holiday, Colton Cowser. I mean, maybe Heston Kjerstad and Kobe Mayo one day we'll find it. But you have plenty of offense in the system to build around. Pitching is a freaking nightmare in Baltimore. They're going to trade Charlie Morton, who honestly good for the Orioles. Suddenly, everyone is talking about like wanting Charlie Morton. He's a big game pitcher. He has playoff experience. Like you might get a decent prospect back for Charlie Morton suddenly. Especially, I would like some of these teams to try to strike first, like some of the sellers. Like don't wait till don't wait till two other teams have these bad losing streaks and suddenly go from buyer to seller. And now you have more sellers to compete with and the market changes a little bit. It's a seller's market right now. Like this today, tomorrow, the next day is when some of these teams should try to beat everyone else to the punch and try to get a bigger package. That's just my thought, especially for a guy like Charlie Morton. Zach Eflin came back today, 5 innings, 2 runs, 2 hits, 5 Ks. Not bad. I think you're hoping that, maybe he makes one more good start and someone tries to give you something for him. Andrew Kittredge, we mentioned Bautista, Sir Anthony Dominguez, like everybody, if you get offers for these guys, let them go. You need pitching. Grayson Rodriguez is hurt again. We might never see him do anything at the major league level at this point. Sorry to say, dude, land yourself a pitcher. If you have to package a bunch of these guys together, Ramon Laureano actually has pretty good trade value. He's been very good. Like cash in on that. Do whatever you have to do. Honestly, if I'm the Orioles, every prospect I get back needs to be a pitcher. That's where my mind would be.
So for Felix Bautista, there's some breaking news here as of 9:30 p.m. from just the Baltimore Twitter over here. He was unavailable tonight because of something that cropped up in game. Tony Manzolino said something just didn't feel right. So that's either A, that's bad luck where he can't be traded, or he is being traded. They're getting him ready. So
yeah.
When you look, as I mentioned before, rehabbing from the Tommy John thing, I think everyone's cautious with his arm, but we know how dominant he can be. I mean, this was the best closer in baseball just a few years ago. We know how fickle the closer position can be. You go from what Devin Williams was, Pete Alonso knocked some sense into him, and now Devin Williams is human again. And I don't know, maybe there's something to that, but You mentioned Charlie Morton. I think that's a big get as well for them to do what they did in the offseason. And yeah, he was a depth piece for them in the rotation. He's supposed to be a solve-all for them, I guess, with the way they positioned him. But if they get something from him, amazing for Uncle Charlie coming out there, and you could secure something. I don't like Uncle Charlie's chances on a competitive team. I really don't. You throwing Charlie Morton out there for a playoff game? I mean, good luck, dude. Come on.
Somebody's going to, but I mean, it's crazy to think by the end of April he looked like a DFA candidate. Like, I know you're paying him what, $15 million. Same thing with Justin Verlander over in San Francisco, like very similar deal, if not exactly the same. And he's turned it around a little bit where, they put him in the bullpen for a little while and suddenly he is the apple of some team's eyes. It's pretty crazy. And Baltimore's got to be giddy and now they can't mess it up.
So for the Red Sox, they traded Rafi Devers in June. Maybe some people took it as a white flag, but the Red Sox ripped off a 10-game win streak before the All-Star break deadline, and they vaulted into a wild card race, and they might be pivoting to buying at this point. Maybe a blend hybrid like we talked about with the Padres. They could be moving on from a Jarren Duran, but names like Lucas Giolito or Aroldis Chapman on the fence, depending how Boston plays further on towards this week. But I don't know. I mean, what's your gut on this Boston team? Are they going to do a hybrid situation? Or are they going to go all in and buy?
Very difficult to get a read on it because I saw a report this morning where it was like, you know what? Now the front office just feels like they want to stay put. And then literally an hour or two before we came on to record, I saw something about them being in on one of the big trade candidates. I don't even remember who it was, but the messaging is mixed. I don't know if that's strategy or if it is just what the Red Sox are this year, where the communication is confusing. I don't know if it's on purpose or not, or if they really still haven't decided where they are. 10-game winning streak going into the All-Star break. I guess the All-Star break hit at the exact wrong time for them because now they have slowed down again and fallen back in that division. Still in playoff contention, obviously, with all the teams that make it. I don't have a good answer for you. If I'm going gut feeling, I think someone from the outfield is traded, but I think they do bring in a significant piece and not necessarily in the same deal. Like, I'm not saying you trade Jarren Duran to someone and you get a nice piece back. You could trade Jarren Duran for prospects, but then go ahead and trade prospects for Josh Naylor to play first base, something like that. That's my gut feeling. And I'm not even saying it's definitely going to be Jarren Duran. That seems to be where the smoke is. And usually where there's smoke, there's fire. But yeah, they're as confusing as any team in the league right now.
Yeah, I think the way Rafael has played has asserted himself. There's been some comparisons in the Boston media to really where Mookie was at some point. I don't buy that as well. I think the swing rate and him chasing pitches has to be solved before we start comparing him to one of the best hitters we've seen in the last decade. But Rafael has shown himself to be a very much a guy that you can start out there and set and forget and understand he's going to contribute at a high level. So that played a part, I really believe. And then the way Duran has been playing, I think that has been a big piece. So, and I guess the question, what happens to Sandy Alcantara? I mean, the trade seemed inevitable come spring. The ERA right now sits above 7 in a rough return. And teams are going to ask, but I think it's going to be all about, hey, Marlins, we want Edward Cabrera. And they're going to be like, no, we'll trade you Sandy. And I think that's it. That's what sucks about this, because Sandy was supposed to be that piece that they moved on from. Like, hey, we have this chip. Let's showcase him. And it has gone really wrong for Sandy on his returns.
Yeah. So I'm mixed about this. Obviously, when you're trying to sell someone, the buyers are buying them on their current performance, not what they've done in the past. But Sandy's future to me is the most intriguing thing here. I think there's got to be at least one suitor out there that is thinking to themselves right now, like, I don't know how much Sandy might help us this year, but we believe in his recovery next year when he's got a full spring training under his belt and all that kind of stuff. You know what? The weird thing is that could be someone who's not even a contender this year. That could be someone who smells blood in the water, is like, you know what? We could add Sandy Alcantara to our rotation for next year. Get him on the team this year, kind of limit his innings down the stretch, and then just have him ready for next year. I don't know who that team is, but I mean, in a weird world, the Orioles and the Marlins, this is just conspiracy kind of stuff, but the Orioles and the Marlins have a trade relationship already from last year. Wouldn't that be interesting? That would be so, if the Orioles, who have more prospects than they need, right? Because the Marlins are not going to want those vets we talked about earlier. We'll be honest about that. We know that's not the case. Excuse me. So in that way, they don't match. But if they're willing to move a couple prospects because they're still too crowded, or someone's not worked out, a Kobe Mayo, a Heston Kjerstad, will take Sandy Alcantara back here. I think that's really intriguing. So I do think Sandy still gets dealt. Had a really good start today, 7 innings. I think if the Marlins are smart and they're set on dealing him, which maybe they're not, but if they're set on dealing him before the deadline, do it now. Don't wait for his next start against, I think it's the Cardinals. Like, do it now, because if he goes out one more time and gets blown up, all of a sudden the trade value goes back down. Whereas today, someone might have been watching a scout and said, whoa, this is the Sandy we remember. So yeah, I do, if you're putting a gun to my head, I still think he gets dealt. Man, I'm talking myself into the Marlins Orioles idea.
So if I had to rank the teams that are being pushing for all in, it's got to be you start and end with the Yankees, the Cubs, the Blue Jays, the Phillies, and the Seattle Mariners. I mean, they are sitting on one of the best farm systems and right now a playoff spot, trying to end that drought. I think they have to spend from depth. I think Josh Naylor would be a huge fit for them. I think Gino Suarez would be a huge get for them as well. Seattle, to me, has to go out there. And honestly, if you look at the Blue Jays, what they've done, they're going to be looking for a controllable starter like Mitch Keller. I think relief help is also in play. Their farm system isn't deep, but I also think some big league bats could be on the table for them with the right dance partner. And the Cubs and the Yankees make sense. Obviously, the Geno stuff, like they're not going to want to give up Spencer Jones, but how could you not? Because if you know you're the Diamondbacks and you're talking to Brian Cashman, the Yankees need a third baseman, just like more than anybody else. How do you not ask for their top prospects? So the Yankees are in a tough spot right now where everybody knows their needs and they have to go to the table and try to sell someone on a prospect that doesn't exist. But I mean, if you can sell him like what we saw at Ramirez last year being traded to the Marlins, like you have these gems that are being assessed different spots. So maybe you can sell them on that. But Spencer Jones, to me, if you are getting Gino Suarez, Spencer Jones has to be in the deal. If I'm the D-backs, like he has to be.
Yeah. If I'm all those teams you named, I agree with Cubs, Mariners. I think Toronto's going to be ultra aggressive. But the team that should be the most desperate is the New York Yankees. How many years of one of the greatest players we've ever seen, how many years of his prime can you let go without a World Series? Is reaching one enough? Certainly not. This is an all-time player, and he happens to be playing for an all-time franchise. Like, you need to win a World Series, and eventually age will catch up to him. I'm not saying that's next year. I'm not saying that's the year after. But things happen. You can't just kind of say la-di-da. And Brian Cashman already basically pushed his chips to the table verbally saying, like, yeah, we're going to be in the mix here. Where a lot of other years, he's very cautious with what he says to the media as far as what he's going to do with the trade deadline. So to me, on the buyer side, there is no more desperate team than the New York Yankees. They have to do something. We saw that they were almost good enough last year, but clearly not quite good enough. So you got to do something. I like what they did in the offseason to counterbalance the Soto loss, but yeah, you got to. I'm so intrigued. The most intriguing to me are the Yankees and the Blue Jays. I know I've said over and over the Red Sox and the Diamondbacks hold the keys to this trade deadline as far as what they decide to do. I think you could throw the Padres in there as well because, as we just talked about with Matt, AJ Preller is a wild card and they're kind of in the middle. But yeah, Yanks, man, they got to do something.
They will do something, but watching this team on a daily basis, the fundamentals are what's going to get in the way. Watching them play against the Blue Jays and watching them kick the ball around, the fundamentals are not there. And I don't think Gino Suarez puts them over the hump. And I don't think one of the bullpen arms puts them over the hump as well. This team, to me, inherently is built to crumble under pressure. And I hate to say that, but this team feels like it's built on sand because when the going gets tough, we see them collapse and do things poorly. I think fundamentals play a huge part and they have to start at the minor league level. Something's missing right now. And that's more of the diagnosis I have for the team where these guys are not doing the small things right. They can't bunt. They can't field. They can't hit situationally. And that's frustrating. And I agree with you. They're going to go all in because they've been embarrassed, not only in October, but they were embarrassed in the offseason. They don't like the conversation. We watch Aaron Boone lash out at John Boy once again during that interview, trying their best to heap positivity on a really bad situation. Anthony Volpe's been bad. There's something that has been a disconnect for them. Changes have to happen from the top, in my opinion, for the Yankees to get better.
I wonder if there is someone out there in a smaller move. You got to make a big move, but say it's Eugenio Suarez. He's not helping you with those little things. Like he's not going to come over and play amazing defense and lift everybody up that way.
If we're being honest,
right. Like he's not going to do that. He's not going to be playing small ball. He's going to be hitting bombs, which is great. But I think of Jose Iglesias last year, who was already with the Mets in AAA. When he was called up, like there was a lot of things you could point to in the Mets season last year as potential turning points. To me, that was the biggest one, which might sound crazy. And we talk about the vibes all the time, but Jose Iglesias is also a player that can do all those little things. I know it hasn't really worked out in San Diego, but like his defense is crazy. You could put him anywhere on the field, and he's just unbelievable. And I feel like he did lift everybody up in that manner. I'm not saying the Yankees need to go get Jose Iglesias, but I wonder if there is someone like that. Like, yeah, try to go get a big guy like Eugenio Suarez, but we're also going to bring this smaller piece over that does all the little things right, and it just kind of affects everybody else. I don't know. I can't think of that name out of all the people we're talking about that might be traded. That name is not on the tip of my tongue, but I wonder if Cashman looks for something like that as well.
It certainly will be interesting. I mean, we talked about the sellers and the buyers. There's dark horse teams. I think the Padres, as we just talked extensively with Matt from Devine Sports Gospel, the Padres and what AJ Pro is going to be doing, subtracting from the major league roster to improve the lineup. Creative three-team deals could be in the mix for them as well to figure out if this makes sense for us this year. But I think this is going to be fascinating to watch. And some of these players out there are going to be overvalued because of the fact that there's some desperation from the teams we mentioned. My last question to you as we get ready for this trade deadline, do you see the Cubs moving on from Owen Casey? Is there a chance that they're looking at a Joe Ryan or a Mitch Keller or Mackenzie Gore if he's available? Is Owen Casey involved in those deals?
So if I'm in the Cubs front office, I have a list of my top 5 guys I want to acquire. And I start with number 1, the number 1 guy I want. I call that GM up. I offer Owen Casey and maybe a few other guys. If it's a yes, boom. If it's a no, I go to my number 2 guy. So yeah, in short, I think Owen Casey has to be on the table. Outfield is not your issue. Third base has been a little bit of an issue for you. Relief pitching has been better this year, but I'm sure they'd want to, try to shore that up. Starting pitching, they definitely could use more depth, like Matt said before. You're not really scaring anybody if Colin Ray is your number 3 in a playoff, in like game 3 of a playoff series, and he's right about that. But they know they have to be aggressive here with the Kyle Tucker situation being a free agent at the end of the year. The players you gave up for him to Houston look really good. So to let this guy walk, at least you need to get something out of it if that's a possibility. So yeah, in short, I think Owen Casey, similar to Spencer Jones, these guys are on heaters at AAA. Take advantage of it. Like their value is at an all-time high. You have no idea if they're going to do that at the major league level. We've seen so many players in the last 2 years just absolutely tear apart AAA and then not be able to do it at the big league level, at least not quickly. And if you're not willing to give them that time, get something for them. I mean, Heston Kjerstad has always torn up AAA. How's that worked out in Baltimore? Kobe Mayo, how has that worked out in Baltimore? These guys have been all-time AAA players. So I think both of those franchises, the Yankees with Spencer Jones, the Cubs with Owen Casey, capitalize on it.
Yeah, I think this could be the busiest, most balanced trade deadline in years. And I think the decisions that are going to be made are going to affect not just this season, but the rest of the seasons beyond that. And I think that's really what's interesting here. A lot of young players and teams that are like the White Sox or the Pirates or the Marlins or the Rockies, you have a chance to better your team because there's valuable pieces, despite them losing games and compiling a lot of losses. There's a lot of value in all these teams that could help a big league roster. Like I'm looking at the White Sox, Luis Robert Jr. is healthy. He's drawing some attention. Yeah. Look at their bullpen as well. And we already talked about Mitch Keller, but even the Rockies open to moving Ryan McMahon or Jake Bird or like Seth Halverson. Like there's people out there that will be buying these pieces. And if you could sell high, hell yeah, do it. Because like you said before, flags fly forever. You can't be hugging these prospects and compiling them because you have the best farm system for how many years in a row. But what does it mean?
Yeah, and if you're not convinced, you're listening to us right now, rewind, go back to that blind ranking segment and really listen to some of the prospect returns that some of these teams got.
All right, well, let's move ahead to our quick take a picture, swing away, have a quick conversation with that, and then we're going to get on with our nights. All right, Devin. So originally the segment was going to be with Matt, but things got moved around a little bit. But I'm going to ask you quick rapid fire with 3 of these, and you tell me if you're taking the pitch or swinging away. Just me to you.
Yep.
All right. So are you buying or selling? Kyle Raleigh will break Ken Griffey Jr.'s single season Mariners home run record of 56, sitting at 39 through 101 games, tied with Mickey Mantle 961 for the most by a switch hitter at this point. and obviously the home run derby under his belt. Will Big Dumper rewrite Seattle Mariners history?
I am going to take the pitch and sell this. It seems like he's a lock for this. I feel like I've seen this before. Maybe not to this level, but sometimes people kind of crash and burn a little bit. I don't think he's going to crash and burn, but I think he might burn out a little bit as far as the power goes. To be honest, all he's done recently in the last several weeks, even before the All-Star break, is pop a few home runs, and he's not hitting all that well other than that. So that worries me a little bit that it's all home run or nothing. And I don't know if he's going to eventually look at how few actual hits he's getting and change things with his swing, or if he's really bought into this whole home run chase. But in short, I'm gonna sell it. I'm gonna take the pitch. I don't think he quite gets there.
All right. Well, we mentioned these names before during our segment previewing the trade deadline. In your opinion, Devin, take a pitch or swing away that Mason Miller and Manuel Clase will both stay put at the deadline.
All right. I'm going to take the pitch as well. I think Mason Miller stays put. I think someone makes a big offer for Emmanuel Clase and maybe one other guy. I don't necessarily think it's Stephen Kwan. I know a lot of pretend trades have had those two tied together. But I think Emmanuel Clase, again, I just feel like where there's smoke, there's fire. The Guardians have done this before with a guy who's still locked up for a few years where they just realize, we need to reallocate this money somewhere else. So I think Clase goes somewhere else. I'm afraid it might be Philadelphia. But yeah, I'm taking the pitch because even though I think Mason Miller stays in Sacramento, I think Emmanuel Clase goes elsewhere.
I think the Phillies are really much going to look at Clase as part of this arms race to compete with the Dodgers and feel like their window is open to win a World Series. So I believe it's the perfect match if they're willing to overpay. I agree with you. Mason Miller, I don't think the A's are in a rush to move a 25-year-old with 4 years of control remaining, and he's a generational pitcher. And I understand maybe he's not going to be a closer forever. Maybe they transition him into a different role. I don't know, but he's not even arbitration eligible yet. Maybe Billy Beane era Oakland would have moved on from him, but I think this current front office has a different mindset. I know we can point fingers and talk about Sacramento and its low-hanging fruit. The asking price has been astronomical.
As
I mean, multiple top 50 prospects is what the asking price has been. And maybe a contender gets desperate caves and they throw a king's ransom at him. Maybe that deal makes sense. But for Mason Miller, you need someone to be drawn to bring you to the ballpark. And maybe it's not a closer doing that, but he, to me, among this young offensive core that we haven't really discussed a lot because the Sacramento's been having a little bit of a year that they want to forget. He's a big piece of that. A young 25-year-old exciting player. I'm sure there's a lot of Mason Miller athletics jerseys being sold.
Yeah, I mean, if the Phillies want to knock on your door and offer you Andrew Painter, okay, I'll do that. But I don't think there's much of a world as aggressive as Dave Dombrowski is that happens. I've heard of other teams apparently being interested in trying to acquire him and turn him into a starting pitcher, which he once was, if we look back when he first was called up. I don't know. The A's would obviously, with the situation you just said of all those years of control, have to be absolutely overwhelmed. So again, I don't think there's any GM that should not be answering the phone to any offer. But yeah, you have to be logical.
For sure. And again, we're going to be talking about the trade deadline and what happens with it, breaking it down right here in Tablesetters week after week and really assessing where these teams stand pat and then for the rest of the season. But let's go into coming around third here as we get ready to wrap up the episode. All right. So again, we want to thank Matt Devine of the Devine Sports Gospel for hopping on with us. You guys can check him out on Instagram at Devine Sports Gospel and on X at Devine Gospel for all the conversations about the Padres, the reactions, all the great videos. This is a little bit of a throwback type of episode because this is how our guest episodes used to be, where we'd have a guest on, interview them, and then pocket with news. But the fact that we stood under 2 hours, Devin, with conversation, especially with the trade deadline looming like a huge cloud, we could see it in the distance and something big is coming. I think there's going to be a lot of excitement on that day, a lot of refreshing of the Twitter machine, getting the Jeff Passan tweets. And that's what you live for, man. I think this is a good day for baseball and a lot of contenders out there. And we will be following it very, very closely here.
Yeah, it's fascinating to watch. And for the next couple of days, I'll be keeping my eyes on some of those middle teams like a St. Louis Cardinals. Like what they do the next couple of days is probably going to determine whether they sell, bye, or maybe in recent Cardinals history, in the same realm of it, just kind of stay pat and do nothing. So teams like that I'm interested in, but a lot of really cool series coming up this weekend. Looking at the list, I mean, obviously I'm always tuned into my Metsies. They're going to San Francisco, but other ones that catch my eye: Phillies, Yankees. That's a lot of fun in the Bronx. Dodgers, Red Sox in Boston. That's also a lot of fun. And then, I mean, another team I should mention as like, what are they going to do? We don't really know. The Reds. I heard their name connected to Jaron Duran all of a sudden. Like, no one's talking about the Reds very much. What do they do? And then the other series, Blue Jays, Tigers. Tigers starting to fall apart. Blue Jays have been hot. I don't know what they did tonight. What did they do tonight?
Blue Jays beat the Yanks 8-4 tonight.
There you go. So they take another series, right? Did they take that series, or is that a 4-gamer? No, that's the series, right?
Yep, 2 out of 3. Yep.
And so Blue Jays, Tigers, with the Blue Jays hot and the Tigers trying to kind of find it again. That's a pretty interesting series as well.
I mean, I think when we talk about with Matt, just about the Blue Jays, he went through some of the lines like Ernie Clement and this lineup.
Davis Schneider.
What they do right is the fundamentals of baseball. And it was on display tonight, where defensively they are strong as hell. They're going to make you make the plays by putting the ball on the bat and bat on the ball, however you want to say it. And I just think the Blue Jays are pesky, and they are an indicative thing of just really baseball, where they're filling a gap where a lot of teams have turned a blind spot, namely the Yankees, on what it takes to be a fully realized baseball team. You can have the home runs, you can have the star power. The Blue Jays right now kind of have a mix of both arenas, where you have a Vlad Jr., but you also have a lot of these role players where in the past that used to win you World Series. And I don't know if, like, gun to my head, are they going to win a World Series this year? No, they're not. But I also believe that there's something to be said about going back and teaching what it is to play defense and be able to have situational hitting. And right now the Blue Jays are outclassing the Yankees. They're outclassing a lot of the league right now. They had just lost their first home game in 11 games last night against the Yankees. They got 60 wins right now. Did you have that on your bingo card coming into 2025 after the All-Star break? There's something magic going on right now in Toronto. And I also think it's going to be diagnosing what we may have in the future to look at how these teams are constructed. It's not being one-dimensional anymore.
Yeah, and their fans have to just be so tuned in, waiting for that Jeff Passan tweet of who they are acquiring to kind of reinforce that team. And honestly, the players in that dugout, don't think the players don't pay attention to that stuff. These players know on each team that if their GM, their front office really believes in them, that they'll go out there and they won't stay pat at the deadline. They'll do something. They won't prospect hug. So the Blue Jays, I wouldn't call them super deep in the prospect division, but they have some very intriguing prospects. I also don't think they're shallow. They're somewhere in the middle. They have guys that people will be interested in. I think they're one of the only teams that is willing to let their biggest prospects go right now.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think the Blue Jays, similar to what we talked about with the Brewers, you have to capitalize and jump through that window if you can and catch lightning in the bottle. Like I said, you don't know. I mean, you mentioned the 2015 Mets. I think they are a huge story that people can look at and believe in themselves. If you would have talked about the Mets in 2015 at this point of the season, you would have thought that you were mentally unstable if you thought the Mets were making a World Series run. And they did just that off the back of Yoenis Cespedes and eventually Daniel Murphy. And you guys know the story. It could have been magic and won a banner. But unfortunately for them, and unfortunately for these other teams, you have to make these right moves. And for the Blue Jays, it's so funny and maybe poetic, Devin. Like, they've been searching for the stars and hoping to woo them over here, whether it be Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani, and tracking the flights. Maybe the answer has always been just playing old school fundamental baseball. And that's what they're doing right now. And they kept their guy, Vlad Jr. Lost in all of this, Devin, is that Vlad Jr. decided to stay quietly, just like I'm staying on for forever. And he looks great too, by the way. Looks like he's in shape. He's running.
Playing great defense. Like,
he looks great.
It's all fallen into place for them. So, and George Springer looks like he's just renewed. I saw him running around the base the other, looked like his Houston days. I haven't seen him run like that in a long, long time. So it's been a lot of fun watching Toronto.
So we appreciate you guys listening and joining the conversation. If you want to hop in the conversation and let us know what you think, go to Twitter at Tablesetterspod. Also contribute to the conversation at Tablesetterspod on the IG as well. Devin posting some reels over there and having conversation. 2.3 thousand followers over there, trying to hop it over 2.5 as we approach almost episode 100. This is episode 95. We had a lot of great guests. Matt Devine was our first 2-time guest. A lot of guests that we've had. What else can you ask for, man? A lot of different voices. I think Matt really summed it up pretty well as far as who we've had on the show, different backgrounds, fans and broadcasters and people that have been in the league. It's really been awesome, this journey. And as we approach 100, I don't want to get too sentimental on here, but it's a big monumental landmark that we need to celebrate.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Having all the different people we've talked to on here, the people who have had nice things to say about us, whether it be to our faces or through messages on Twitter or Instagram or somewhere else, and the 5-star ratings. And it just, it's cool. You and I thought about this for a long time. Didn't know if we'd ever do it, then pulled the trigger. Didn't know if anyone would listen. It's gone way better than we ever thought. On episode 100, we'll give you more reflection on it. Maybe get a little sappy on there, but pop some champagne. Yeah, we got 5 more to go to get there. So let's get there before we celebrate.
So you guys can also check out, if you want some thoughts of the Washington Nationals and what they're going to do, check out our episode from earlier this week with Savannah McCann of Masson. All the great conversation over there. So we want to thank her as well. We love these double week episodes, I think, or this double episode weeks, I should say, and continue to drive the conversation, talking all things baseball. So Devin, if I'm correct, we will be back next week, probably on the same day as the deadline. How are we going to operate with this?
Well, we got to see. So as of now, no guests confirmed for next week, but yeah, well, you and I will definitely be back and maybe do a final preview. I know we've previewed the trade deadline a lot so far. Maybe we'll find a unique way to do it one more time. And honestly, I think next time we come on, we'll be probably talking about 1 or 2 trades that have already happened. But we'll be on next week at least once. If we have a guest lined up, I think maybe we'll be on Monday and Wednesday. So we'll see. Stay tuned. You know, we're going to give you at least 1 next week, maybe 2.
For sure. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the week in baseball. Again, follow us, leave a 5-star review if you can at Tablesetters Pod. But until that time, we'll talk to you after a while.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year that has been so